big as hell. He's just a really strong, fit guy, and I like that.
Yeah, I know.
And I like that.
Please like and subscribe.
Riley was right.
What?
I bring bugs in the house.
What are you doing?
Bringing a bug in the house.
Why?
Because it's dead and I like them. They're decorations.
Okay.
You better not.
Hello, everybody. We're here. We're back. We're doing it. We are back. Welcome back to my channel for Joleen Reacts / the Big Brother Breakdown with Joleen. We have some post-season things to discuss. So many things, actually. So smash that like on your way in. Hit that subscribe as we make our way to 50K. And if you want to support the channel further, you can do what Jody did here and send a super chat or a super sticker while we're live. It's a great way to support the channel and for me to see your comment. You could also join our membership here on YouTube or Patreon, or you could gift a membership if you'd like, or hit me up on the Venmo, PayPal, Cash App. You don't have to do any of those things, but they are there if you want to support the channel further. So happy Thursday, everybody. We have a lot to talk about today. I got my coffee. Hopefully you guys are wearing something very comfy and you got a beverage.
Who is she? Who is she? Who is she? Where did you find her?
Yes. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You just finished the deep dive. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about some Big Brother stuff. We are going to get into me roasting and reacting the deep dive that Taran did with Keanu. I've been waiting for this, probably more than any other player. And let me know if you guys feel the same way. I've been waiting for the deep dive with Keanu because I really wanted to see what he was thinking. Because there were so many times this season where I was like,
It's inappropriate.
what are you doing, Keanu? Okay? Like, let me love you, Keanu. And then he would make decisions where we were like, this guy clearly doesn't know what's going on. So the deep dive did not disappoint as far as entertainment went and as far as us seeing firsthand that Keanu really was living in a different reality in the Big Brother house. He himself compared it, looking back with the little time he's been out of the game, to being in the Truman Show, where everyone else was in on the thing except for him. All right. Let me know if you guys can hear my soundboard. Hopefully you heard the boing. Give me a thumbs up if you heard that. How are you sitting in under the blankie? Oh, I love it when it gets chilly in Southern California. I love it. So yes, most frustrating player ever that you want to root for. You just want to root for Keanu. He has a lot of very likable qualities. But in this game, he was lost in the sauce. And so Taran did a almost 4-hour deep dive. We're going to react to some of it and roast it and have some fun because I've listened to most of it. So that's what we're going to do today. So get comfy, everybody. Yeah, so frustrating. Shout out to my mods, you guys. Keep hitting that like. Let's set a like goal for 1,200. Can we get 1,200 likes on a post-season BB video? Possibly. Possibly. I think you guys can do it. You're killing it. All right. Also, I do want to talk about a few other things before we get into the Keanu of it all. You guys, so obviously Vince still in hiding except for the paparazzi. All right. Also remember, everything I say in this live is my opinion. All right. Everything is true except for the parts that are false. Everything is alleged and for entertainment purposes only. So don't sue me.
You better not.
Okay, now you're welcome to have your opinion. So sound off in the live chat or the comment section and we can talk about this stuff. Because this to me is very interesting. My favorite part of Big Brother is the social aspects, the psychology, the sociology of it, the anthropology, any of the apologies you want to talk about. I like to look into that and I like to make fun of stuff and have a good time. All right, so we're going to have a good time. We're going to have a good time today. You guys. Yeah, allegedly, Care Bear. Allegedly. You guys are so cute. I appreciate you so much. Yeah, it was almost 4 hours, artists. It was crazy. So Anna says, I love the the deep dive. Taran did a great job and Keanu was open to listening. I want to commend both of these guys for the deep dive was great. Taran obviously knows his stuff. He did the damn thing. And Keanu was very receptive in so many ways to even sit down. And I guess he reached out to Taran. Wanting to, it's crazy that we'll get into, but we go into a season of Big Brother. Keanu does a whole season of Big Brother. And he's not the only player. You know, there are other players this season who would probably benefit from sitting down with Taran. I kind of wish Taran would do this with everybody and then I could react to it because it was so interesting. All right. But it's crazy that these players, they played a whole season and yet they know nothing. That's that's insane.
Boom. Roasted.
And I admit, like, can you teach him how to play? If you play again, but it might be, it's just a little too late. Like that was the part where I was laughing because there's so many players that could benefit from this. Thank you, Amy. But there's also a filter on the StreamYard. There's like a smoothing skin filter. So I do have makeup on, but you're seeing the best smooth version of me. So, you know, don't be fooled. There's a lot going on under here. Okay. Lots of stuff going on. So, right. I would love Ava, Kelly, Taran, please reach out to all of them. I know it's a lot of work, but I appreciate it. All right. So I want you guys to, I dropped the link in the description. Obviously you've probably already checked it out. If you haven't already, go, you can watch the whole interview over there, the whole deep dive. Go give them love. Go give Taran his flowers. Go give Keanu his flowers. Go watch his Ashley deep dive, all the things. But I'm going to react to them. And I hope he does Morgan next. And I wonder if Morgan will be as receptive. Because Morgan seems to be in a place where she believes and wants to believe what she thought was true is true. Like her version of the game, her experience. And I get that. I respect that. That's fine. She doesn't want to go back and watch anything really, even though she has watched a few things. It seems like she's just like, this is how I remember it. And this is how it is. But if you listen to her like Twitch streams that she does, she's getting a lot of it wrong. And then maybe that's healthy for her right now. She will, you know, and I think she mentioned on one of her, let me play this real quick. She mentioned on her Twitch stream, people are asking, are you going to do a Taran deep dive? Like you should do one. All right. Because this guy literally follows the feeds all season. Every day we get a Taran update. All the BB content creators bring something different to the table. But Taran is truly next to like Ori, Taran, to do like daily, consistent, let's talk about the day before. I obviously do some, but I'm not every day. All right, day 39, day 40, day, you know, I'm more sporadic, more roasty, you know. So there are certain content creators that really are like, here's what happened. And then I take what happened and we have some fun with it. But I think that is something that every one of these players should do. So here's what Morgan had to say on her Twitch channel when she went live and they were asking her about the Taran deep dive.
Like back and forth about Taran. I know I am going to probably speak on the phone and like just kind of get an idea of like what, because I've never done it before. I've never been on podcasts. So I think what's helpful, and this is like to advice to all of you guys, if you guys are ever going to do any sort of like conversation with anybody, whether you know them or not, like always make sure that you know what you're getting yourself into. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, there's really nothing wrong. Like Sharon and I had a conversation before our interview and she just wanted to let me talk about my games. It was not going to be a deep dive. It was just to give me a safe space to talk about my game. And she was going to like, basically, we were going to go week by week. We were going to go week by week. And then she was going to go over just some questions, which is what we did. So I think a lot of people were really coming for Sharon when they shouldn't have and thinking that this was a deep dive. Like we never said it was a deep dive. She just wanted to give me a safe space to talk about my game. And I loved it. I love Sharon. She's absolutely incredible. She's so good at her job. And I really enjoyed my interview with her. But yeah, I mean, I totally hear what you guys are saying. Like doing a deep dive, especially if I'm going to get invited back, makes sense. And I fully agree with you. Like fully agree. So that's why I said like, it's not a hard no. They do like, I am in touch with, our therapist that we had like during sequester and like throughout the game if you ever needed one. I will also say, guys, like therapy is
Okay, so yes, therapy is good, important. Hopefully everyone has mental health benefits. You can get therapy. So also Maddie and Janet, never forget Mad Rose D. Never forget Mad Rose. They also bring the recaps daily. I think Maddie only takes like 1 day off a week. And that took her years to be like, I might need a day off. And I take the days off that I need. Like I feel guilty about it sometimes, but then I think, no, I can't. I just don't. There's only a few creators in the Big Brother community that truly on YouTube go every single day with like boom to boom to boom. Here's what happened. All right. So Morgan I think she's talked about having a phone conversation. She wants to do a phone conversation with them first. So I think Morgan has, it seems like to me, this is just my interpretation, my speculation of it. It feels like she wants a little more control over it. You know, she's like, well, I've never done a podcast before. What are we going to talk about? And with the Sharon deep dive, there was criticism. People thought this isn't a deep dive because it really wasn't. And I looked back at it last night when I was doing my Amazing Race recap. And I said, well, I thought it was named. I thought Sharon had named it a deep dive. But when you go look at the title of Sharon's video that she did with Morgan, which is like 3 hours or so, it doesn't say deep dive anymore. Now, some of you said she changed the title, which I change the title of my videos too sometimes. So, but it wasn't a true deep dive. And Morgan's basically admitting that Sharon was just providing her a safe space, which makes so much more sense because it seemed there wasn't a lot of pushback from Sharon. It just seemed like it was Morgan just releasing onto us what she thought happened in the game. It seemed more like two friends talking and Sharon being very supportive, which is great if that's what they agreed on. But I think some of us went into it thinking, oh, this is like a deep dive, like a Taran deep dive. And it just wasn't. And that's okay. You know, it was just kind of an interview, but more of a safe space. In my safe space, you know, and you could tell. So I don't think Sharon should get any hate for that. That's something her and Morgan agreed upon. Maybe that should have been explained to people so they didn't think it was going to be a deep dive. But oh, well, you know, it does make more sense when she was like, I just needed a safe space to talk about it. Okay, cool. Which basically was like, no pushback. Yes, you're right. No, you don't have to answer that. So it really didn't feel as journalistic as it could. Also, speaking of Morgan and Vinny, you guys, Vinny has now removed all pictures of Kelsey from his Instagram. Vinny the Lit Panera Bread, who was seen, obviously the paparazzi, the Sun. I mean, I wonder if they're on this yet. I saw it on Reddit and then I went to check and I was like, oh shit, he did. And before there were lots of pictures of Kelsey in their travels and wishing her happy birthday. And every year they'd been together. And now she's just wiped. He doesn't appear to be following her. What is going on? I don't know. And Morgan still hasn't talked to Vinny. So she says. All right. So I don't know what that means. What are these people doing? I feel like doing something like that is going to make people talk and question. For people that might say, he's just living his life and doing his own thing. He has a public social media. He was on a national reality television show where cameras watched him on the live feeds 24/7. He had a public cheat mance, then was spotted by the paparazzi, whether he called it on himself or not, with the ex-girlfriend right after, isn't talking to Morgan, even though that's his best friend, and was basically confessing his love for her. And then now everyone's like, oh, he must have got back together with Kelsey. The Sun did a story, I don't know, a couple days ago, saying that Kelsey gave Vince an ultimatum. They had an inside source. And we thought maybe it was Vinny's parents, Stan and Jan, selling stories because we love Stan and Jan. And they deserve a little bit of compensation for having their almost 35-year-old son live with them rent-free. Okay? So, and now he goes and removes all the pictures. Like he wants us to talk about this. This is crazy. Yes, the Sun is not like, come on. They say, oh, we got an inside source. I feel like they just make shit up and allegedly, obviously. What do I know? You know? Don't sue me, Sun. But they just say, oh, we have a source. And you're like, what? Huh? So I don't see the Sun reporting this, but there's like a couple blogs saying Big Brother Vince Panero deletes all pictures of girlfriend Kelsey from his Instagram. The move comes amid weeks of speculation about the couple's relationship, following reports of tension and alleged drama involving Big Brother house guest Morgan Pope. Vince's social media purge now has followers wondering if their relationship has quietly ended. He could have just kept the pictures up until this all died down. That's what I'm saying. Why make such a very public proclamation? I'm removing these pictures while having a public Instagram. Kelsey's Instagram is locked down in private. So Vince knows what he's doing. Here's another thing. Okay. Dina. Yeah. Shout out to Dina. Dina says he just archived him. Dina, as a Big Brother content creator, riddle me this. I was on a walk with my husband and our doogies. Okay. And as we're walking the dogs, I was telling my husband how it's so weird that I've been getting these comments every video I do about Big Brother that discusses Vince. I get these long comments, right? About like just in defense of Vince. And then I'll go, and they're just like ridiculous. They don't really make a lot of sense. And I'll get them from multiple accounts, the same comment. And I start deleting them because I'm like, are they like spamming me? Are people obsessed with Vince? Like, what is going on? Is this Vince himself? And my husband says, Joleen, he probably hired PR. Those are like the bots that they use, most likely, to go in and, it's like the dead internet theory or whatever he was talking about. I got to look into it more. But he said, and if you add up the paparazzi following him, come on. So I'm thinking, that shit is probably true. And so if I get some more, I'll screenshot them and show you guys. But I was getting like word for word, verbatim, the same comments over and over and over again. I was thinking, what the hell? 2 minutes later, the same comment would pop up under a different account. I'm like, are these people just copy and pasting? Are they trolling that hard? Like, that's interesting. But then the more I thought about it with the paparazzi, I'm like, he probably does. I mean, Vince comes from some money. His parents got some money. He's hanging out. He's shopping at Erewhon, expensive grocery store in LA. He's, living near Calabasas. Hire PR? What do you guys think? What do you think? That guy spent 10 years trying to get reality TV famous. I have no doubt. Right, Rando girl? I didn't even think about that. I didn't even think that it was possible, like PR bot. I'll have to ask my manager because she used to be in PR and see what she thinks about this. Like, is this? Reach out to Kim and be like, hey, is this a PR move? All of a sudden the paparazzi are just showing up. And only one and then TMZ ones, but basically one being the Sun paparazzi. He's from LA. It's a very LA thing to do. I lived in LA long enough to be like, that's why I'm surprised. I didn't pick up on it. It was Hype Man Husband Chell RN. Okay. And he's busy being an ICU nurse now. So he's not even in the LA world, but he remembers. Like, come on, this is how it works. So Mr. Ty says, we're going to end up making Vince more famous than he should be. Probably. I don't know. Just me, Madison says, of course he would waste his money. No sense. But maybe, because according to all the a lot of the players leaving, or I should say like Morgan, Ashley, those like final three, and then I don't know if there was someone else, but they've talked about how Big Brother, the producers, kind of prepared them when they left, saying, hey, you're going to go out into the world and you might have to give a little support to some of your fellow Big Brother people because they're not being perceived very well by the public. One being Vince. So Vince going out knowing this, could he be like, ooh, I better get on this. I better get some PR. Because it's probably not that much for him to be like, all right, I need someone to handle this, get the, paparazzi, maybe some bot comments, just spam them in there. Because we know that has worked. That on social media, there's been whole campaigns PR-led campaigns of bots to change public opinion. So Adam says publicist needs to work on needing to straighten those curls. He or she is probably one step at a time. One step at a time. So that's what I really do like about Keanu, is that Keanu seems to be going back into the real world like a real person. Does he want to do more reality TV? Of course. But he is back in Texas. I watched him go live for the first time on TikTok. He was like, how does this work? On Twitch, how does this work? You know, meanwhile, we have streamers who know what they're doing, being Morgan, who that's their, you know, their business, God bless. And then we have Vince, who's been in the LA game for a long time, living in LA, wanting to be on this reality show for 10 years. You know, where Keanu seems to be kind of like, what next? I've just been doing kettlebells. Yeah. So very interesting. Danny says Ava saying her jury check, saving her jury check by going to MIA instead of PR, which would probably have been a better move for Vince, but who knows Ava, you know, what she wants to do in the future. And Ava already had quite a following on Instagram before this, and she was already in a band. And so I forgot, remember we listened to her music before this. So maybe she's like, I'm not going back on CBS. I don't care. Meanwhile, you know, Vince wants to. I want to know that too. I want more. I want to know everyone's opinion on Riley and all that. So Mary says hiding makes things worse. Nobody going to care about Vince when he arises. And might be the Todrick effect. When Todrick was on Celebrity Big Brother and everyone was like, oh my God, this guy's like, he sucks in the house. You know, people, I know a lot of people, myself included, were excited for Todrick to play Big Brother because he was a fan and he would have all the house guests staying at his house. And then he went in there and we were like, oh. And then he refused to do any press until like 2 years later or something. And then nobody cared. And now he's living in London. So I don't know. You know, you can see, if you go to her Instagram, XTELV, you can see the band, but I'm pretty sure there is a band. She is banding. So those two things are the latest right now with the Morgan and Vince. Vince removing Kelsey from his social media. Is that a sign that they're done? Is that a sign that he's tricking us? Is that a sign for us to pay more attention to him? Did his PR people say to do that? Is he really talking to Morgan? It would kind of make sense that maybe him and Morgan are secretly talking again, because Morgan has been, especially in her Sharon Tharp interview, she was so like, Vince just needs time. She was very understanding at his seemingly complete ghosting of her, because Vince isn't ghosting everyone. During the interview Keanu did, the deep dive with Taran, Vince is texting Keanu. Keanu's like, oh, speak of the devil. Vinny just texts me. So he's talking to other players. He's following other players on social media. So it wouldn't surprise me if he is, in fact, maybe talking to Morgan. Maybe he's going to try to now if he's not already. We don't know. Hello, Producer Prince. Thank you for showing up to work. So good to see you. So sound off, you guys. I want to know what you think. Archer says, I believe that. Right? It's believable. Anything's believable right now. This postseason is very interesting. Okay, let's get into this deep dive. Again, the link is in the description. So make sure you go. Producer Prince is knocking everything over. Make sure you go and show Taran all the love for the hard work he did in this deep dive. And go give it a like, subscribe if you're not already over there. Link is in the description of this video. Okay, let's do. All right, JP. Okay.
The journey to host a Survivor podcast has been the story of my life.
Thank you. Okay. Princey Poo. He does what he wants. He's like, I'm not listening to you, Mom. I'm just going to lay here. Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you, sir. Thank you. All right. Smash that like while Prince gets comfortable on my desk. All right. Now you guys let me know how the sound is once I share this and if it's good. Again, this is the Keanu deep dive from yesterday. And I found it to be very interesting. And we're going to kind of skip around in it. So if you want to watch the full thing without my annoying, possibly commentary, maybe you're like, oh, shut up. Well, you don't have to listen to me. You can just head over to our HAP and watch the whole thing for yourself, uninterrupted by little old me. But here, this is Joleen Reacts, where we react to things. We roast, react, all the things. Okay, so here is this. So you guys give me a thumbs up as soon as you hear the audio on this. Thank you, Lindsay, for being a member for 13 months. That's over a year, Lindsay. I'm not worthy. She's saying, hi, Prince. Hi, Prince. Oh, they did? Okay, I'll have to check that out. Thank you. Hosa says, Jeff and Jordan from BB interviewed Keanu. Really cute interview. Okay, I know they have a podcast, so I'll have to check that out. If you don't mind linking it, that would be awesome. If you can drop links in the chat. I forget what their podcast is called. All right. So also, quick note about Keanu. 100% recruited. Not that we didn't already know this, but confirmed he was 100% recruited. Because people were asking him on his live, do you have any advice for people who want to get on Big Brother and your tapes? And he was like, well, I was kind of a one and done. Basically, they just hit me up. And they told him he had to, like, he tells Taran here, they told him he had to watch at least one season before. And I'm like, Big Brother, are there really still not enough people applying for the show that we have to be recruiting? Because think of had they even recruited him and been like, you have a year to watch a bunch of seasons and we'll hit you back up and we'll see if you understand the game. Think of how much better off he would have been in the game. Now, of course, we need all kinds of characters, and it is interesting to have some players who don't know what they're doing. Obviously, it can be very funny. But it seemed this year we had almost all the players had no idea what they were doing.
Boom.
And
roasted.
Like, okay. So maybe try to get some people that know what they're doing. And if you're going to recruit them, give them more homework than one season. So I think he said he watched BB 26, and then in Sequester, he watched more. Because remember, they're sequestered for like 2 weeks or whatever. All right. So give me a thumbs up as soon as you guys can hear the audio on this. And let me know if there's any reverb, if they're sounding like there's an echo, and I'll mute myself.
A lot of, at least like the way that I handled situations. So
yeah,
part of the reason why America loves me or whatever was because I never like gave in to like when people baited me, I never gave in to that, and I always felt like.
Is there any echo, you guys? Let me know if there's an echo. If not, we'll keep it going. Thank you for the thumbs up, telling me the sound works. I just need a no echo, and we will keep it going.
No.
All right. Thank you, Liz. I am going to maybe speed it up a little too. I'm going to.
That was always the right move. The one time I did, coincidentally, was the one time I painted the huge target on my back. When I said, I'll pick you all off one by one, which is crazy to me. I didn't think that was such a, profound, crazy statement. I was just basically recapping what you're supposed to do in the game. And everyone took that as a personal attack.
I think, honestly, like part of it too is that once you get into a position in the house, you have like a certain social standing. There's going to be less leeway toward you with comments like that, right? Like, if Zach at the time had said something like that, people would have been like, oh, Zach. But because you were somebody that already, and I don't know how much you knew it at the time, but like already was so low on the hierarchy of social status in the house, it was very easy to be like, wow, really, Keanu, huh? Pick us all off, huh?
Yeah. Can I ask you a question?
And that's such an important point that Taran makes a little earlier. We're like already almost 8 minutes into this because I'm skipping around on here. But I think had Keanu really understood his social standing and just how bad it was, he would understand why the moves he was making were never going to work, and why the relationships he thought he had, why they kept, not seemingly not holding up their end of the bargain, and why he was on the wrong side of everything when it had to do with his allies, what he perceived to be his allies. So this social standing comment is what Keanu never quite grasped. He always thought he was better off, closer. He basically said day 6, him and Riley and Vince made a final 3. So that's what he was rolling with. So before, I think the feeds came on, maybe even before day 6, but in that first few days, they made a final 3. And he's like, clearly, that I'm just going to roll with that. Even though so many factors then came into play with Riley stalking Catherine and being like, I'm going to marry her. I love her. And Vince's, closeness with Zach and Morgan. And Keanu never pivoted. He just thought, well, they said it, so that's what it is. And we know all too well with Big Brother, like, no, you have to follow up on those things. You got to nourish those things. You got to be able to read the room because that stuff changes all the time. People start alliances in that first, second week, and then they go to shit. They get closer with someone else. But Keanu really thought, we're bros. Bros before hoes. We got this. And that was not it.
Sure.
When did that start becoming the case? Because I felt like pretty early on, before like faces started popping up on the wall, and I'm not sure when the live feed started, but I felt like I had a pretty good standing in the house as far as like likability and things like that. And it wasn't until I want to say maybe like the veto ceremony, when Jimmy called me out for whatever, and he had it out for me from the very beginning because he wanted like one of the bros out really bad. So he started already with the rumors that I started Showergate and all that bullshit. So we already kind of didn't like each other, but I thought maybe that was just like a one-off. Maybe him and Ashley didn't like me. I'm curious to know how many people in the house actually didn't, because
it's painful almost, but he needs to know, and he wants to know clearly. He's like, I thought they liked me. And I think him thinking this bros thing ever existed is one of his big downfalls in the game, and him seemingly believing the men over the women who were actually telling him the truth, the few women that were actually telling him the truth, was such a detriment to his game. But him going, so when did that turn? It's really interesting, but I do commend him for like wanting to understand it. Artist, thank you so much for the super chat. Artist says, that was 4 hours of my life I'll never get back. See, I liked it. I thought this was a very interesting deep dive. I wanted to get into Keanu's brain, his reasoning. I want to know. I want to know what he's thinking. So I was there for it. Thank you, artist. Thank you, Kelly Cal, for becoming a member. Appreciate you. Yes, Taran was very gentle with him. Very gentle. And we will see that.
I thought I was good with a lot of people.
So yeah, so I will give you sort of the experience that we had. I was actually streaming. I did a 24-hour stream when the live feed started. So there's record of me watching this. The live feed started the night of day 6. So pretty deep in at that point. One of the first things we saw was you and Kelly trying to convince Vince to not nominate Kelly and instead nominate Jimmy. And we later found out the sort of origin of that, which was, of course, Jimmy trying to target you, Rachel trying to warn you, and all of that stuff that happened. But by that time, after like Vince basically walked away from that conversation, went up to Jimmy and them and complained about you like immediately. And that's when it was clear, like, oh, Keanu and Kelly are on the outs. Like everyone's complaining about sort of Kelly and about, Keanu's like the standing that he thinks he has, he doesn't really have. And it was pretty much like Zach had talked to Jimmy about you targeting him. Zay had, Ava does in the morning. You talk to Ava in the morning. She runs it to Jimmy. Like basically everyone was ratting you out. Everyone was building you up as a target. And this is the thing, right? So the morning of, just to get here. So you had talked to a bunch of people about like, hey, Kelly goes up. We want to keep Kelly, but really we would love if Kelly didn't go up. And basically everyone you talked to except for Rachel and Morgan ratted you out to Jimmy. And then the next morning, I thought understandably were suspicious that Morgan may have ratted you out because you saw her walking with Jimmy
right
that night. They'd actually been arguing all night.
Right, that's what she told me, and I was like,
yeah,
no,
it really was true. And that was one of the first times I saw Morgan. It was one of the first times I saw Morgan, period. But she was pushing for something that she wanted, which was you to be off the block and for Zay to be the target. And she was pushing hard, like well past, like everyone else disagreed with her and she was still pushing. I was like, oh, look at Morgan. Like she really pushes for what she wants. And so she'd been arguing with Jimmy. They were kind of like, I believe that walk that they had was them kind of being like, hey, we got a little heated, but everything's gonna be fine. She had talked to Vince that night as well in the hammock saying, hey, don't do what Jimmy wants. You shouldn't put up Keanu. You should put up Kelly. And Zay should be the target because he knows how to play chess. He's very good at chess, and that means he's dangerous. And so all of that happens. Then the next morning, you were suspicious about that. Very famously called her a snake, and she ended up crying, and all of this stuff happens. When that happened, Kelly went upstairs and told Vince, hey, there's a bunch of drama with Keanu right now. Maybe this is your excuse to put him up instead of me. And at the same time, Jimmy had made like a pretty successful pitch to Vince, which was, I know you think that you'll be good if you put Kelly up and that she won't go home, but you won't be good. You don't have the numbers. And Vince kept counting the numbers, and he was like, I have seven. Then I could break a tie. And Jimmy was like, I'm not voting to keep Kelly. You're going to look like an absolute idiot if you put Kelly up and she goes home. And Vince was starting to crack, seemingly. Then when this Kelly information comes up, he's like, oh my God, maybe I really do need to put up Keanu. And I need to talk to Riley and Morgan. Those are the two people he needed to talk to. Riley, I think for obvious reasons, he felt like, the three of you maybe had a thing at that point. And Morgan, because already he was very deeply connected to Morgan. He talked to Riley, and Riley was like, yeah, F that guy. I don't care. I'm done with him. And then it was like, oh boy.
That part was like watching Keanu's face, like that early on, Keanu. Riley was like, fuck that dude. You didn't have the people you thought you had. These bros, Vince, Riley, like it just... Oh, thank you, DGF, for the super chat. Keanu revealed that he targeted Mickey, Ashley, and Morgan because of Jimmy's antics before we got the feeds. That info was crucial because he was a Keanu for me, DGF says, not the Keanu. And Dina makes a fantastic point down here. However, it's great that he's listening, but if Taran was a woman, would he believe her?
Boom. Roasted.
And we get to that later in this deep dive of people calling Keanu out. Like, why were you so dead set on believing the men, but the women, you're like, they got to be lying to me.
Patriarchy.
So what? Now that's the question, because he had Rachel in there. I mean, well, and didn't believe her. So it's so interesting to watch Keanu take in this information. Like, oh shit! So pretty much from early on, they all just didn't want to work with me. And then it was so frustrating for us to watch as viewers, because the people who did want to work with him or were looking out for him, he was like, no. Now he was always going to bat for the wrong people. Keanu, he just never knew what was going on. Thank God that for him that he could win competitions, and they had the BB butt blaster and they have vetoes, or he would have been so done in this game. Because in this social strategic game, his social strategy was abysmal.
This might actually happen. Then he talked to Rachel, and Rachel said, do not put him up. That would be a terrible idea. He's a good target to leave in the house. Various reasons. She also wanted Zay out. Final person he talked to before the feeds went down for the ceremony was Morgan, who said, don't do it. Don't put up Keanu. Don't do Jimmy's bidding. And so then we eventually found out you didn't go up. And so for us, for me at least, I was watching, I was like, Keanu's downstairs thinking that Morgan and Mickey did this to him. And then you talked to them, and then we're kind of like, maybe they didn't. But then thinking Rachel might have done it to you. And those were like the only two people in the house at that point that were actually sticking up for you. And I was like, oh no.
Yeah, man, it's crazy because obviously if the live feeds went on day 6, and then people wouldn't necessarily know this, but I created a final 3 with Vince and Riley on day 2. And that was what, like, dude, I was like, because I'm just like a loyal person like that. So like for me, that was like the only thing that I cared about. And so anytime Vince and Riley told me anything, I was like, so like, yes, okay, that's what it is. And they always told me, like, don't trust Rachel. She's doing this, she's doing that. And, at the time, I hadn't really built a good relationship with Rachel, or at least I was still thinking about her reputation, but more so than my personal experience with her at that time. But I was conflicted with her because I did have a good personal experience with her at the time. So it was like one of those like kind of dichotomy things where it was hard for me to trust her. And then Morgan, I don't know why I couldn't really trust her at the time. I'm trying to remember why, but I felt like she was in with like
I couldn't really trust her at the time. I can't remember why. I mean, we know why. It's just ingrained in you, whether you're conscious of it or not, to believe men over women. You seek the respect of men more than women. Thanks to the patriarchy. I mean, Keanu. I can't really remember why I didn't trust her. It's the tits. It's the tits. It's the uterus. The uteri. Bradley, thank you so much for the super chat. Bradley said Taran didn't lean on his Vince impression here. No, you can see little points where Taran goes into it a little bit, but I think it would have been great, but he would have had to say, hey, I'm doing a Vince impression. There were moments that he did, and you could tell Keanu's laughing, but I think he's just, it's a lot, as he's deep diving with him. He doesn't want to make him uncomfortable, and that's a fine line. Unless, because Keanu's not necessarily familiar with Rob as a podcast and Taran. He basically was told by people, you need to go on this podcast. This guy knows what he's talking about. He wrote a book about it. He does the live feed updates. So he's not familiar with Taran the same way he's not familiar with Rachel. So the fact that he was like Rachel's reputation, well, bro, you didn't even watch her season.
Boom. Roasted.
He ends up saying he watched like those clips, I think, like BB12 summed up in a few hours. But unless you really watched it, you don't really know about Rachel.
It's inappropriate.
So, yeah. So you were basically believing men you didn't know over a woman you didn't know. But for some reason, you were like, well, we made a final 3. Again, I think it's a combination of and also of the patriarchy and also of him not understanding Big Brother and going into it thinking, oh yeah, if we say we're together, we're together. No, this is why you need a little bit of an education about Big Brother to know that lots of times in this game you have to pivot. A lot of times people are going to lie to you. A lot of alliances never work out. And especially in this season, people did not know how to stay true to an alliance. Taran knew Keanu's not his audience. So he's more doing the impersonations and stuff for his audience than if he just starts doing it. Keanu might be like, is he having a stroke? Like, what is he doing? What's going on here? So this is so interesting. All right, let's keep going. Let me just
Will and stuff. And I remember Will feeling the need to
what am I on here?
tell her that she wasn't. I didn't really trust her at the time. I'm trying to remember why, but I felt like she was in with like Mickey and Will and stuff. And I remember Will feeling the need to tell her that she wasn't initially a part of the people that I wanted to work with. So I was like, oh well, if he feels comfortable telling her that, and she's the one, and from my perception, talking to Jimmy and causing all this stuff, then then I don't want to be around her either. So that's really interesting to know that the people that I did not think were with me were actually with me, and the people that I thought were like, man, the Vinnies, Rileys, Kellys, Adrians, the people that I thought I was like ride or die with are the ones that are like, all right, let's run them over again.
It was, and I think, to be fair to you to some degree, and I haven't spoken to Morgan yet, but like I believe at this time, from my perspective at least, it wasn't so much that she was like, hey, I'm really sticking up for Keanu. It was more so like she had an agenda, which was Zay. And in her mind, you going up was not part of that agenda. And so she was pushing for that. I don't really think that I think she felt she had a good relationship with you, and I think she was surprised when you called her out. But like even after being called out by you, she was like, because basically Vince was like, hey,
Okay, sorry. I'm muted. Okay, so we'll do this again. Oh God. Okay, so B Nichols says, honest question, what's wrong with the man wanting to work with a group of guys? Nothing. Until it becomes a detriment until it's like in a Keanu situation. We're actually working with the men, wasn't working for him, but he refused to pivot over to the women. So for some reason, you could see a bias he had toward believing men and trusting men and wanting to work with them and bro out. And I think we live in, a patriarchal society that encourages men to work together and to respect each other and encourages men to seek the acceptance and respect from other men. Meanwhile, they don't necessarily seek that from women because under the patriarchy, women are seen as less than, which is why, I mean, we can go back. We don't want to go back too far here. This isn't like a feminism TED talk, but which is why, women have been fighting for rights, basic rights that white men have had in this country forever. And we're still fighting. And the ERA still hasn't even passed. So there's so many things we could talk about regarding this. So no, I think inherently in this patriarchal society, men are encouraged to work with each other. But I think there are certain biases that Keanu might want to look at in his life. Like, why am I just seeking out the companionship and the strategic relationships with men and not women who are going to work better for me in this game? So even when the men shit on him time and time again, and we're clearly not working with him, he was willing to give them try after try, but the women never even got a chance. Right away, they were lying. And it wasn't just Rachel. There was Morgan, there was Mickey, there was, and he'll say Kelly, but he never put Kelly on the same level as he did the men, as that bromance. And we see this in Big Brother time and time again. Okay. And this goes back to like when little boys are little, and I just looking back to like my mother's generation, like organized, sports and team sports for women weren't necessarily even the norm yet. So my mom didn't have the same opportunities as I had then through, progress, and shout out to the feminists, for fighting for women to be able to do that. It was more women in society still are conditioned to be competitive with one another for the attention of men instead of because they're afraid of us. Because if we sync up with our witchy ways, we'll take over the fucking world, and they know it. And if you look back on history, lots of leaders and politicians within America have said so. They've let it slip, like, can't let the women work together. So there's so many levels to this shit that I think people just get really tensed up and they go, don't call him a misogynist. Don't say don't label him. But there is a sense of misogyny in this. And that doesn't mean you hate women. Just look at the biases. We all have biases that we all have to look at to become better people and understand our behavior. We're all flawed, and that's okay. But it's always interesting when you see people really trying to protect men who are clearly making choices, as Keanu did, that are very biased against women. People are like, no, he's fine. He's got sisters. And well, I'm looking at his behavior right now. So he's going to be fine. All right. No one says he hates women. We're just saying, hey, take a look. Take a look. It's in a book. You might want to learn to work with women. Yeah, like Evelyn's saying, unconscious bias is unconscious. We just need to be open to learn and grow. And I feel like Keanu's starting to get to that point. So I commend him for that. Now, later in the interview, he poo-poos any kind of misogyny because I think he sees it as like, if you label me that means I hate women and I don't want to go out into this world, but that isn't necessarily what it means. I think we have stigmatized these words like misogyny and feminism where they're like, feminists are bad and misogyny, don't call them men. Men got so mad about misogyny, they had to create a made-up word called misandry. They were like, well, we need ours. And we're like, oh, God, okay. We're done here. So I think there is just some biases you might want to look at within the game, the decisions he made and how he was so forgiving of the men time and time again, wanting that male approval, wanting that bromance. Why? It was at the detriment to him in this game. where he could have pivoted to Rachel or any of the other women and given them the same chance he gave the men, but he refused. So just something you might want to look into. That's all I'm saying.
How are you feeling about the Keanu thing? Do you like, is this? And she was like, I don't care. It's fine. Like, I'm the person who was wronged theoretically, and I'm telling you, don't do it. Rachel, on the other hand, was confusing for me at the time, because in my view, like, it made more sense for Rachel that you go up on the block, because at the time I hadn't seen your conversation or how she was feeling about you. I just felt like, well, obviously she's going to want to protect Amy, so it makes more sense for Keanu to be on the block, given that Keanu will go home over Amy, and versus like Kelly, where like it's a little bit trickier and it sets up her against Vince, because Vince is going to want to try to keep Kelly, which it did. Vince versus Rachel was a huge thing that week. But then she stood there and said, no, don't put up Keanu. I was like, Rachel, what are you doing? And then we watched the episodes and saw that conversation she had. I was like, oh, wow, she like just genuinely wants to work with Keanu. And that kind of surprised me. But yeah, from my perspective, she was pretty much the only one who like really pushed to want to work with you at that time. What I will say is, like, I think that a lot of the people who were happy to throw you under the bus at that time, yeah, most of them continued to, for the most part, but like some of them at times, because you pushed so hard to be working with them, eventually they started to go, I mean, I guess he's an ally. Like, you know, I guess I shouldn't be actively targeting them. But this was also the season of people targeting their allies, so that wasn't even that useful.
Yeah, that was really kind of disheartening. I haven't seen like the whole season or anything like that, but yeah, it was crazy to me to see how much I was fighting for people like to not go on the block or anything like that, and then for them to turn around and be like, "Oh yeah, first chance I get, he's on my block." I'm like, damn.
I think that like and tell me if I'm being too preachy at you here, because you said you wanted to like learn as much as possible, and I'm somebody who hasn't played the game before, for the record. Like, I'm not some arbiter of strategy. I don't claim to be by any means. However,
but from what I understand, you're like the guy that's really good at breaking down people's games. So I'm here to learn 100%. So
thank you.
I'm not here to be like, no, I swear to God, no, dude, please lay it on me and I'm gonna receive it and use it to the best of my ability. So
something that I've observed is that there's a really, really powerful thing that happens in the house when somebody becomes an outcast, where it infects every interaction you have, and especially if you don't know it, right? And so we saw this a lot with Taylor when she was in the game. She's the most extreme possible example, where like everything she said, every interaction she had was interpreted to be in the worst possible way, and every relationship she tried to build was not on equal footing. It was not on equal ground. Anytime she built a relationship with somebody, it was like, oh, well, we are deigning to allow you into our circle. We have bestowed upon you this grace. And so if you slip up, if you disappoint us in any way, then how dare you? Because we let you in. We did you a favor by talking to you, by letting you in this circle, as opposed to like the power of, say, a first HOH. It's the other way around. The first HOH is like, hey, I'm bringing you in. I'm keeping you safe. And so, you know, that sort of like, that situation is very difficult to get yourself out of. Taylor was able to very quickly recognize where she was. And of course, over the course of her season, like really, I don't remember if you said you watched 24, but
I didn't, but I've seen like the highlights and stuff. Yeah.
Yes. It's a very useful one for like, not that the show itself like fully showcases it, but like, and I mean, Ashley's a fairly good example as well of somebody who was able to, because she also had some trouble in the early portion of the season. Right. Being respected. And so, you know, what you saw with Ashley was that like anytime she got caught doing something, it was way worse than anytime anybody else got caught doing something. She gets a reputation for being like a loudmouth, you know, somebody who says too much, because she can't trust as many people to hold her secrets, right? Like other people were saying just as much. It's just that like they had more allies and they had more social standing, and therefore they didn't get labeled as somebody who was spreading around too much information because it didn't matter as much for them. So I guess like all of that to say that like I think probably the bonds that you made were genuine initially, but then as your social standing started to drop, the willingness to like hold on to that probably diminished. And it was like, well, am I going to risk my own social standing by going down with the ship, or am I going to just let him go? And especially early on in the season when it's like, I just met the guy, like
So this is a great point that Taran is making to Keanu. Like, once his social standing, so maybe when he first got into the house, the guy was like, okay, let's work together. Once his social standing in this social strategic game started to slide, people were like, yeah, like, fuck this guy. Keanu was still holding on to it because he didn't understand his social standing. And he really thought bros work with bros. And he kept, according to him, that through the whole game. But they had already thrown him away to the trash. And they didn't care, mainly Riley and Vince in that situation. So the way Taran is describing it to him, I think is great and making it easy because this is a lot of information for Keanu to take in. So again, I commend him for even wanting to hear this shit and not just going on a podcast where they're going to blow smoke up his ass and let him be delusional. He's like, nah, man, give it to me. So that's where I feel like that's the beautiful thing about this is everybody can learn. Everybody. We can all work on things where we're like, oh shit, I didn't even see that about myself. And I imagine being in a game like this, where you're being watched and criticized, you would see parts of yourself. You're like, shit, I didn't know I had that bias, or I didn't know that I wasn't picking up on that, or I didn't know I was, maybe too trusting here, or, I went into a game that I didn't really know how it was played. So I think that's the beautiful thing, where these labels that we give people, they don't have to be forever, and they don't have to ruin people's lives, or there's change that can happen just through communication. And that's what I love about Big Brother is there are these people living together, and it is a microcosm of the real world and people having conversations. And at its core, that's been the beauty of Big Brother since day one. When I first, really fell in love with Big Brother with BB6 and Janelle and Kaser's relationship, and him, being from Iraq, and then Janelle being from like small town Minnesota. I was from Minnesota, and you had this friendship developing with people who normally probably wouldn't be around each other, wouldn't live in the same area, wouldn't roll in the same groups, where there was a lot of, biases and prejudice toward, one group. And then you have these two people and you're like, oh, that's actually like quite wonderful. And there is good, despite, the world seemingly being on fire and everybody at odds all the time. If you're on the internet like me, you're just like, oh, what? But there is progress that can be made. And when we do sit down and listen to each other and talk to each other, we can find the humanity. And not to be like all like poopy, but yeah, why not? And Taran did write a book about Big Brother. DGF says, low-key, I'm still having a little feed withdrawal. Right? Right. That's why I love the social experiment. I don't want to just watch the freaking challenge and all these people are like, I take creatine and I can do one-handed push-ups. I don't give a shit. I want people from all parts of the world who genuinely, not they want to be there because they want to gain followers. And I know that's like all too the norm now, but people who really want to be part of this game and see it the same way that a lot of us see it. And unfortunately, we don't always get that in these newer seasons with the recruits. But I think Keanu is someone, had he watched a couple more seasons, had he maybe been, looked into, some biases he had, I think he could have done so awesome at this game. He could have gotten so much farther had his social game been on the up and up. Token says, I want to hear Taran speak in the Vince crybaby voice. I know. Evelyn says, I watched the social experiment. Don't even right? The comps, I'm like, who cares? Who cares? Bring a book. Don't give a shit. I want to see people from all parts of the United States pick to live together, live in a house, the real world. Strangers live in a house and find out what happens when people stop being played, start being real. Because that's the hardest competition in this whole game, is the actual living in this house together, being secluded from the rest of the world, everyone coming in with their own personalities, their own, biases, their own prejudice, and having to navigate in this game, in this living situation. That's freaking fascinating to me. So
I imagine that's part of it, but I can't speak to these specific examples because the feeds weren't on, unfortunately. But that definitely was the case later on in the season. There was a lot of like motivation for some of these early votes, like the Adrian vote, the Adrian nomination itself was like, hey, do we want to be associated with like the outcasts, the Kellys and the Keanu'S? Do we want to be in that group, or do we want to be in the group that has like more people, the larger majority group? Because there's something scary about having our own social standing fall. And so I think that really hurt you. And unfortunately, because you weren't able to like recognize that position, it was really difficult for you to climb out of it because you've stayed in your bubble, which was very easy for people to like just keep you there. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think there's a huge part of it too that I was kind of like, I'm okay in being in that position, like with my back against the wall and stuff like that. So I never felt, and this is probably something obviously that I could work on in the future, but I never felt the need to try and like necessarily dig myself out of that because I felt very confident in my ability to continue to win until I eventually got myself out of it. But I guess I needed more social skills, or needed to understand, like you said, where I was in my position in the house in order to be able to even climb out of that hole to begin with, because I didn't feel like I started climbing out of that hole until I got like the little butler costume, and then I was forced to interact with people. I know you have someone else that's on the podcast too. I don't know his name, but he was saying that I was like dead wrong about feeling like my social game turned around when I got the butler costume. But that's really like the opportunity that I needed to actually start conversing with people and start doing things that changed my social game to begin with. So that was kind of like my view on it, was like, I'll get out of it eventually.
Yeah, well, the announcer had something to say about it.
Keanu got an enormous ass.
That's hilarious. Oh my God, that's so funny that's an actual soundbite.
Oh yeah. Listen, the announcer has some fun, man.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
Yeah, so the butler costume is interesting. It definitely was. I would say too that like that was probably when a lot of the, I don't recall exactly when the show, like the episode watchers started to like really like you. I think it was probably around that time. I think there were live feeders that came around that time as well. Because you really, as you said, you took it like a champ, and had fun with it. Funny enough, I think that people also started liking Vince more at the time because the egg costume was so funny.
Oh my God, dude, him running in that costume was hilarious.
It was, oh man, they were two very good ones. I mean, like, I often complain a bit about like just how silly the show can be at times. It's very difficult to recommend the show to people when the first thing they see is a giant butt. But in terms of like in the world of the show, I thought those were two of the better costumes. I thought they were very fun. But yeah, I don't disagree. I think that you did step up your social game at that point in the game. Again, I think the issue is that you ultimately just kept running into this brick wall that was like where people wanted to put you. And it's so like, it's so hard to climb out of that. The other thing that you had going in your favor, of course, was that you won competitions, which is like the best superpower when it comes to breaking through those walls. And so I think we can sort of talk through that once we get there. But just to make sure we don't miss anything from the first week, is there anything else from that week that
we're still talking about the first week? Because it is, I mean, it's so intense. So Keanu sees the butler costume as his way to kind of break out and be more social. And yeah, it was because he had to make like the pigs in the blanket for them. Did it change people's perspective of him? I don't think so. But he saw that as an opening where it could possibly do that. So
you're interested in like examining?
Oh yeah, so I got flamed for this online like hardcore. People were comparing me to Devin from season 16, but like that whole 10-person alliance, I can't even remember how many people it was. Yeah, like people thought I was like legitimately trying to create a 10-person alliance. Like I didn't just do that out of thin air and was like, hey guys, today's a great day to create an alliance. Like the whole reason I even did that in the first place was because the perception in the house was basically, or at least from my perception, that the perception of the house was Jimmy and the girls versus Kelly and the guys. And then I believe Will also fell into the category of like the girls as well. So Jimmy and Will and the girls versus Kelly and the guys. And At the time, I knew that Jimmy was really like coming after me specifically for whatever reason. That was when I found out he started, me saying I was the one behind Showergate and all that BS. And so he had him and Will and all the girls. So that's like 8 or 9 people. So I was trying to tell everyone in the house, like, hey, look, this is going on. Like, we need to band together. And I believe I tried to just get, the 6 people that I was working with plus Ava and Lauren, I believe, was kind of like in the middle there, hadn't really chosen a side. But with Lauren came Catherine, so I kind of included them, So I think people thought I was like just trying to create like this 10-person alliance. But in the core of that like 10-person alliance, there was like a core 6. And then within that core 6 was what I thought was my final 3 that I was staying true to no matter what, which was Riley and Vince. So I don't think that that's necessarily like the wrong move. I know that a 10-person alliance is probably way too big. But I made it very clear to like the core 6 that like, hey, Zay, Zach, Lauren, and Catherine, they're kind of like hired guns. We just need them for numbers, but these are the 6. And then, I thought I made that very clear, but apparently not.
Well, I mean, it's again a thing where
Keanu still not quite understanding that he didn't have the social standing to make something that big. So it did look Devin-esque because he was still in Delulu Big Brother land, just like Devin was. People behind his back were like, these people he thought he was working with and that he respected. And this final 3 he thought he had with Vince and Riley was null and void. They didn't respect him. They didn't respect his gameplay. They didn't want to be associated with him. So for him to even warn them of anything, they're not going to believe him because they're like, you're on the bottom. Nobody likes you. You don't even know what's going on. That's how it appeared they looked at it. But Keanu's still like, I thought I explained. You can explain until the cows come home. But you do not have the social capital in the game to pull any strings like that at all. And that's something that I'm sure eventually Keanu, he'll be like, oh, okay. So I think Taran slowly kind of explaining how important his social capital is.
Or like in a vacuum, it's not a bad setup, right? Like it doesn't, it's not like, that is the bomb squad structure that Derek eventually, ran to the end with the detonators. Right. But then like when you are the person that everyone's like, oh no, that's Keanu, right. Then it becomes like, oh, well, he's delusional. Like, what is he talking about? A 10-person alliance? Right. So that I think again, that's like, that is the biggest difficulty. And that's where I do feel like the fact that you are sort of searching for like a way to improve your game. Like, I really do think that you have a lot of the sort of game level strategic stuff like already, which was like not something that we saw from a lot of people this season. And it really was just like where you were in social standing.
That's such a good point, because I think people saw promise in Keanu because he's not a dummy, and so strategically we're like, he can figure this out. And he just never got there because his social game was so bad. And Dina's saying they need to explain this to him in workout terms. 100%. Use kettlebells. Make it make sense to his brain. Take him in the gym with the kettlebells and say, here's what's going on. Okay. Over here, here's the social capital. A player like Vince, for some reason, has all the kettlebells. You got one kettlebell. You're going to teach a class on kettlebells. Where are they going? Where the kettlebells are, or where no? Bad analogy, but you know what I'm saying. Okay. But that would actually work out. Kettlebells.
And I'll tell you this too, like, the fact that you've now gone through a season and won America's Favorite, if you were to return or even go to another show, I think this stuff will be easier without even doing anything. Because now you have a reputation, and you are like liked by the audience. And if you came onto a Big Brother season, you'll probably have a fan on the cast. You'll probably have an easier time of it, just baseline. But I think it is still obviously pretty valuable to walk through some things. And
that's such a great point, but also kind of sucks that if he does come back, yeah, people are going to treat him differently and are going to respect him because people really want to. And we've seen this mostly in new school Big Brother. And maybe that's because social media wasn't present in the old school seasons like it is today. But people really don't want to go against anymore who they think is the fan favorite. So if they know 100% that the audience loves Keanu, they don't want to get the hate online. They want to get the follows, so they would respect him more now. It's like now he became the prom king, and they're like, okay, I'll talk to you, which kind of sucks because we saw that this season in the house where they were being so favorable to Riley, and we're like, we hate Riley. But the perception Jimmy told us once he was out within the house was that Riley was America's favorite, which makes so much more sense. Because I was like, why the frick is Mickey being like trying to work with this man after she takes his HOH? Why are they all like, I love Riley? Everyone in the house was just like, I love Riley, you know, but the perception allegedly was they really thought Riley was like America's favorite player. And that if they went against him, it seems like then they were going against the fans and they didn't want to deal with any scrutiny. So yeah, like a popularity contest, Lorette. So yeah, social media's effects on the game is, you know, we've all been kind of conditioned now for like likes and follows and things. And I know that better than anybody, being, you know, working as a content creator. It's like that is how you stay in the algorithm. That is how people see your things. That is how you grow, how you earn more revenue, you know. So, and these people, a lot of them just go into the game and they're like, I just want to grow on social media. I just want to be an influencer. I don't really care about Big Brother. And we're like, ugh, annoying. So another reason why I wish they wouldn't recruit so much. I mean, there literally are people standing in line still to be on the show when they do casting calls. Yet more, like I would say probably still 70% of the people are recruits. Maybe more. It's crazy.
Okay, so after the veto ceremony, this was a big thing that happened. Jimmy calls you out.
Mhm.
This was funny. Even Rachel, who did want to work with you, was like, "Oh yeah, Jimmy, yeah, do it." Like, no blood on my hands.
Yeah.
Jimmy calls you out, and you ask Vince afterward because you're like, because Vince had been the one to tell you when Rachel warned you about what was happening, like, "Hey, it's not me, it's Jimmy. Jimmy's doing everything." And then you went and asked him like, "Hey, so Jimmy was doing this stuff, right?" And at that point, Vince was like, "I don't want to get in trouble. Like, I might have misunderstood. Like, I don't know. I'm not sure." And that kind of opens the door for Jimmy to be like, "Hey, this is all a big misunderstanding." And so, what was your sort of experience of that?
Okay, so remember, Vince, Riley, the thing that I stayed most loyal to because that was like the only alliance that I thought that I had up until Riley went home, right? So Vince tells me, you know, whatever it is that he tells me, I can't even remember now. But I was like, okay, well, if this is one big misunderstanding, then I'm just gonna go to Jimmy and apologize, and then we'll be good to go.
Mhm.
So I go, you know, I go to him outside, and you know, we have our conversation. Obviously, they didn't air all of that in the edit, but I imagine the live feeds were on for that.
We actually missed a good portion of it because the feeds came back afterward.
Oh, okay. Well, basically, the premise of that whole conversation was like, hey, listen, I have been misinformed. I want to apologize to you. I don't want you to think this or that, you know, and then the end of that conversation was basically like, hey, if I win HOH, you're not going up. If you win HOH, I'm not going up. Great. We hugged it out. Everything was great. And I believed him too, because my goal at that point was to find whoever it was that was like dragging my name through the mud. Like that was for the whole first until Mickey went home. My whole goal the entire time until Mickey went home was find the person who's dragging my name through the mud and send them home. That was all I wanted. And I didn't care. Like people thought I was crazy. Obviously, I didn't realize it was Jimmy at the time because I'm naive and I was just like, oh yeah, he told me it's not him. Cool, it's not him. But people thought I was crazy for not targeting Jimmy because he was going to target me anyway. And I was like, listen, I don't care. I want whoever's bringing my name through the mud. That's who I want to go home. So that's what I was hell bent on. And we didn't figure that out definitively until I won the memory bridge veto, and I talked to Mickey and Morgan upstairs, and we kind of like pinpointed that it was Jimmy. And that's something they didn't show in the edit either, was that like that was when we first initially realized that it was Jimmy who was doing all that stuff.
That was a very interesting conversation because, well, I guess first what I want to say is that like I think that instinct is actually pretty good. I think that, again, the thing you talked about in terms of like the emotional quotient, in terms of like really being able to withstand an onslaught and turn the other cheek, so to speak, very much Dan Giesling's mantra as well, where like being able.
I thought that part was hilarious because you know he don't know who Dan Giesling is. These players this season are like, huh? Dan there's a Goosley. I'm sorry, what? Ryan Gosling? No, Dan Giesling. Oh, I don't think I know him. Thank you, Monica M, for the super chat. Monica says Keanu needs to just play the challenge. He can't get Big Brother. I disagree. Sorry. On another show, they won't respect him because he doesn't get it. So you think Monica, are you saying if he plays again, you just don't think anyone will respect him? And because he just doesn't get it? I don't know. I mean, maybe he'll, I think he wants Taran to be like his Big Brother coach, and he wants to go back because he has said he wants to be the first 2-time winner, but you got to win once first. So could be. But do I think he would probably do better on the challenge? Maybe. Yeah. I think the challenge, sure. Thank you, Animation Cartoon. Jolene, I'm so happy you went live today. Thank you so much. Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for being here. I appreciate that. So I love how he's bringing up Dan Giesling, and they're like, I'm sorry, what? I'm sorry, who's that? I don't think I saw that highlight reel of him.
Able to reconcile with Jimmy makes a lot of sense. Telling him something like, oh, it's a misunderstanding, everything's fine. Even if neither of you believe it, just like leaving the door open is always a good thing for the most part. I think like what did end up happening a lot was that because you were such a presence in the game, winning competitions, a lot of like the targeting and fears of things that were happening in the game happened because of you, but in sort of inadvertent ways. So what I mean by that is, every time you talked about like being cool with Jimmy, that actually made people skeptical of Jimmy, because they were like, well, if Jimmy's cool with Keanu, that's bad for us. We want Keanu going after Jimmy. Like who's Keanu going to go after if he's not going after Jimmy? And it was the same thing with like Rachel, where like people loved it when they thought you were going after Rachel. But then when you were like, hey, me and Rachel are actually good, they were like, oh shit, like what? Who's he going to go after then? That's bad for us. This is something that I talked about a few years ago, actually. Oh God, many years ago. That like in Big Brother specifically, it can actually be beneficial to have like an open enemy, meaning like you are disarmed in the eyes of a lot of the other players if they think, well, anytime Keanu wins, he's going after Jimmy 1000%. That means I don't have to worry about Keanu because he's going after Jimmy, and Jimmy's going after. I love this for us. Let's target somebody else who we don't know who they're going after. And there's a player on Big Brother Canada, Godfrey Manguiza, who very famously stood up. Actually, there was a Zach that season as well. And he said, Zach, I want your blood on these hands. And then immediately after went to Zach and was like, that was just for show, man. Like, we're totally chill. And it worked great because people were like, well, anytime Godfrey wins, he's going after Zach. But secretly, he had sort of like been like, hey, we're actually chill. And again, whether or not Zach believed that is another story. But, there's something there. And I think the danger for you came because you, I would say, told a bunch of people, you told people you thought you could trust that you were actually chill with Jimmy. And then they immediately spread that around, which, I think we'll come back to again and again is like similar with Ashley. Like the reason you got in trouble for things wasn't always because you were doing the wrong thing, but that you were trusting the wrong people.
Right.
And ultimately, there weren't many people you could actually trust. So that's a pretty tough one.
Yeah, if any. If any.
Yeah.
I know at certain points I could, but damn, throughout the, like, even just watching the first, like, 5 or 6 episodes, I'm like, damn, dude, I totally at this point thought I could trust him 100%. And I totally couldn't.
Yeah. So you do have, this is when you started to really frustrate me at times because you had.
Right. Danny T said Taran nerding out over BB gameplay, which we love, having watched BB Can and BB US and some BB UK. Yes. He doesn't know who Godfrey is. So Taran's coming with this like wealth of knowledge, years and years of geeking out about the show. That's what I wish we had, at least a couple players that had like the passion for the game, the show, knew the history, just a few. I know you can't have all, super fan nerd Big Brother people, but maybe you could. Can we just try it once? Because we literally have, like Danny's saying, like BB 101, like people, it's still insane to me. And I know I mentioned this earlier, but that people have played a whole season of Big Brother, and yet there's Keanu sitting here going, can you teach me how to play? They played a whole season.
It's inappropriate.
As much as I'm like, good for you for wanting to learn. I wish, can they put them through some kind of Like if you're going to recruit people, like I said, some kind of training course, just do a little bit of homework, a little bit of research of what you're going on. I myself would never go on a show I knew nothing about. It's usually a social strategy show where knowing how to strategize and how it works is so important to my survival and how well I do in the game. But but Keanu also being like, wow, he's taking a lot of information. He's pounding a lot of Red Bull because he's like, woo, we're only 37 minutes into this, and holy shit, you just blew my mind. So everybody hated me. I couldn't trust anyone. And the times where I thought I was telling people something that would help my game, it was actually hurting my game. Whoa, this is heavy. So Team Jolene, I would be so bad at Big Brother. I'd be entertaining, but I would be horrendous, you guys.
I don't know if you've, I think one of them made an episode. One of your conversations with Rachel, but you had, I think, 3 of them where Rachel is trying to tell you facts.
Oh God. Yeah, I know it.
Like, hey, Vince was trying to, maybe put you up. Hey, Jimmy was doing this stuff. Hey, you can't trust Zay. You can't trust Zach. And these were true statements. Now, what I will say is they were true statements in the hopes that she could win you over and get your vote and work with you. Like there was an agenda there and you saw the agenda, but you didn't believe the facts. And so your part of the conversation was often like this very, I would say fairly dismissive kind of like, Rachel, come on.
Yeah.
And she could tell that you were not believing a word she said and not trusting her. And she'd be like, Keanu, what, I'm telling you that, like, why aren't you? And you'd be like, what do you mean? I believe you. Yeah, fine. and then the conversation was the conversation would end and you'd be like I would believe anything she'd say. And then she would leave the conversation and be like, oh my God, this guy.
Yeah, I know. See, a lot of that was predicated on the fact that I just like the people that I trusted 100% at the time. Obviously, I couldn't, but they would always be telling me like, "Hey, listen, you can't trust Rachel for X, Y, Z reason." And like, there was always a part of me that was conflicted. That was like, I felt like I could trust her because of like that moment that we had where she had me open up, and so I felt like I could trust her. But then I was also very conflicted because of these other people that I trusted 100% were telling me that I couldn't trust her. So then I'd always be kind of like, okay, so I believe that she believes what she's saying, but these other people that I trust more than her right now are telling me otherwise. So that's what I am choosing to believe. So it was hard. It wasn't always like I didn't believe what she was saying. Like the reason I could never get like mad at Rachel or anything like that is because at the end of the day, I always believed that she believed what she was saying. You know what I mean? So it was like, I could never get mad at her because like, why would I? If she's trying to help me out, I can't get mad at her for that. You know what I mean? The only thing was that she was actually telling me the truth and everybody else was telling me lies.
Yeah.
Yes, that was the most frustrating to watch because we're like, come on, let's get frenemies to work. Like, listen to Rachel. Like, clearly these people are lying to you. They're showing you they're lying to you. You know, in your heart of hearts, Keanu, you're feeling it. And yet you're just like, okay. Just how Taran explained it, he would be like kind of scoff at Rachel, like, what do you know, lady? And it's like, a lot. She's won this game, what do you mean? What does she know? So him putting so much weight on these guys, Vince and Riley and whoever, on their word over even what he was kind of feeling. How he was like, well, she was really reaching out to me on a personal level, and I did like her. Just shows that the bias was so strong to believe the men that he was like, it's just like more proof that just take a look at it, Keanu, because we were watching and we were screaming like, please listen to her. You never believed anything Rachel said. It was so frustrating. It was so fucking frustrating. It was crazy. Oh my gosh. Molly says, just want to say I'm so grateful for Joleen in this chat all summer. I'm having a rough go lately. I'm so sorry, Molly, and happy birthday. And you guys have been such a fun distraction all summer. I appreciate you. We appreciate you, Molly. Send Molly all the love in the chat. But like, it's just so it's nice to see Keanu being like, yeah, and I guess Rachel was telling me the truth. And we were waiting for him to find out. that like all these bros are lying to you. They don't respect you. Rachel's actually looking out for him. When Keanu was like, I think I'm going to throw the blockbuster, Rachel's like, don't, what are you, crazy? You're throwing it for some guy that doesn't even like you, doesn't even want to play with you, prioritizes everyone else over you. Please don't do that. And he's like, oh, okay, whatever. So I think there was also this level of kind of cockiness, arrogance, mixed with naivety that he came in with, not knowing the game, where he was like, I can figure this out. That was such a toxic combination for him to do well in this game. And it was so frustrating to watch. Oh my God. Yes, DGF says, Keanu said he believed the crap the other house guests were talking about Rachel. Like, why was he so willing to believe that? It's interesting. It's very interesting.
You know, that is also something that happens a lot. I would say that, well, there's two things there. One is that, like, I mean, similar to what people did to you, it's a tactic that will often be used, whether it's maliciously or as part of like, let's bond to the alliance together, of like, don't trust these other people, or like, hey, this is a particular person, you shouldn't trust any information that comes from them. And I would say, like, most of the time, that's not true. Most of the time, like, any information is still valuable that you should take in and like consider at the very least. Because that's like the same thing they were doing to Rachel, they were doing to you. And anytime you were talking to people, they were like, well, we've been told we can't trust Keanu. We can't believe a single thing he says. And meanwhile, you were giving them, you know, maybe not accurate, maybe information that you believe to be true, but if a person believes it to be true, it still can be valuable. And I think a lot of times players in the game will be like, well, I don't have to listen to this thing that this person is saying because they don't know what I do, which makes their information invalid. And again, it's like, well, they don't know the secret. Like, for instance, later on in the season, when the judges exist, anytime you're talking to somebody, they're thinking in their minds like, well, you think this, but you don't know about the judges. Therefore, you're wrong. And you won't know it until later. And while that can, again, be valid, like, it's also important to recognize that, like, that perspective will persist in them most of the time. Like, for instance, if Vince is thinking that with you, it's not like when you come out of the game, you're going to be like, oh, the judges exist, therefore everything Vince did was valid. You know, like, it's not always so black and white. And I think that like, listening to the information can always be very valuable because, you know, everybody's perspective in the game matters. And I think players really want to try to devalue perspectives as much as possible. And I think you need to like play into that to some degree, but it's always worth, I would say, like, listening and taking in what the other people think. I think that really, like, what I would say is, even if you had been correct about Vince and Riley and like the situation that you were in there, your game was still, I would say, like, too loyal. You were giving them so much, and they were giving you very little back. And so even if you had run to the end with them, they probably would have been in a better position to win than you would have been. Which is not to say that you shouldn't be loyal, especially on a public podcast. But like, make sure you're playing your own game, I would say, is a huge part of this. Like, don't give everything up to your allies. Like, it's okay to take in some information and like kind of hold it, I would say, for the most part.
Yeah, you know, I think something that that really stuck with me, or I kind of, I guess, romanticized, because it was literally the last season I saw before I came in here, was season 20, watching Casey and Tyler work together. I was like, I feel like that is something that I really romanticized. And when I had, you know, something that people won't have seen on the live feeds because it happened so early on, was I had kind of like that same emotional moment that I had with Rachel, I also had with Vince. And that's what really coupled me with him, at least in my brain, was like, okay, well, you know, we had that emotional moment. I don't really open up to people, so that meant something to me. And so in my brain, I was like the Casey to his, you know what I mean? Like that, and I really romanticized that. So like, to me, Vinny was like the dude I was gonna ride out to the end with, and like that wasn't gonna change no matter what. I don't care if we don't spend a minute of time together throughout the day. We'll catch up in the last like 15 minutes of the day, and that was enough to take me to the next day.
Yeah. Did you?
Keanu was like, I'll take the scraps. Okay, Vinny just giving me a little bit of attention. And it's interesting because, again, Rachel spoke with him and connected with him personally. And then Vinny did, but he prioritized the Vinny relationship despite Vinny stabbing him in the back throughout the game multiple times. And he was like, even if we're not talking, I will ride with that. I'll never pivot. And you're like, oh God, that's a horrible strategy. You have to make sure that do you see signs of them prioritizing you as well? And for some reason, again, Vinny could run a damn cult with these people because the Vinny pull was real. And Rachel was right. Like, what is it with this dude? Why is everyone listening to the unemployed dude who's like, I don't have any votes now. Oh.
I don't have any votes now.
Like, what? But they're believing it. They're believing his crybaby game. But why?
I don't have any votes now.
So very interesting of Keanu. He had the same kind of experience with Rachel. They connected personally, but he prioritized Vince, even seeing that he didn't get much time with Vince. Remember in that last, or in the endurance, or not the endurance, the, holding the sword HOH competition that Keanu blew? He was just so excited to be with Vinny, to bro out. Finally, dude. 2 dicks together. Yeah. Chode for life. Chodes. Like, he was so excited that he could have easily won that HOH. And he was like, I'm so good with Vinny. I'm good. And he dropped it. And it didn't last very long. Only for Vinny to continue to stab him in the back. And then he'd take it on the other cheek. He would just turn his cheek every time he got slapped by Vinny. Until he did put him up on the block. But even then, he was teaching him a lesson, but not voting him out. He was still trying to save him. We're like, oh, Keanu, the sword fighting, right? Oh my goodness. So it's interesting. This is just, to me, this is fascinating.
Watch season 3. That's pretty far back.
No, I haven't seen that one. No.
Famously, Daniel and Jason.
Taran.
Daniel Reyes, Jason Guy made the first.
Taran. He just was like, I wanted to be the Casey to Vinny's Tyler. Like, he doesn't know Daniel Reyes. He doesn't know Jason Guy. He doesn't know season 3. But they're just trying to give him. He's giving him a little education here. Big brother education.
Secret alliance. And the two of them linked up early and then exchanged information over like a game of cards every night to debrief. And they were not necessarily on like opposite sides of the house, but they were in like different pockets with different like people that they were aligned with. And they really like trailblazed in terms of Big Brother strategy. And a lot of people come into the game, whether or not they even know about Jason and Danielle, wanting to replicate what they did because it's such a cool idea and it's something that like is very appealing. And the reason why most of them fail is that they don't actually form a tight enough bond before they separate. Like you meet somebody, maybe you hang out with them for a few days and then you're like, hey, this is such a great idea. We should like separate on different sides, or like we should like, act like we're not super close, and then we'll exchange information. But then over time, they end up, that people they hang out with are the people they end up actually bonding with. And then the facade becomes a reality most of the time. And you don't actually end up working as closely together. It's so, it's a thing that often happens. And I would say that the people that do manage to do it, Dan and Memphis in season 10, Secret Renegade Alliance, they didn't make that until halfway through the game, when they'd already really spent a lot of time like bonding, and then were able to separate. Derek and Cody in 16 did form a bond really early. However, Derek made sure to include Cody in all of his alliances so that they could still spend a lot of time bonding, and then did the separation thing like in a more subtle way. So that's a huge part of it, especially because in an instance like yours, it's like very easy for Vince to agree to something like that, because if it's like, well, people are targeting you, so I'm very happy to pretend to be disassociated with you, because I might actually need to be disassociated with you.
Right. Yeah, that's the problem I kept, like, when I look back on it, it's kind of like the problem that I feel like I kept running into was like, I felt great with Kelly, but like, to my face, she'd be like, oh yeah, I love hanging out with you, whatever. And then like 3 minutes later, she's like, all right, well, we've been talking too long, so I need to leave. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then behind my back, she's like, yeah, we need to get that guy out. Fuck that guy.
There's the last season of Big Brother Canada, before it got canceled, Anthony Douglas and Spicy V, they were two vets that came into a house of new players, and they were secretly working together. But Spicy V would often sort of conspire against Anthony. He'd hear about it and be like, dude, I know we're supposed to not be working together, but you need to stick up for me. Like, we need to keep bolstering each other's positions in the game. You know, like that's the important part of this. That did not end well for the two of them.
Yeah, I think
but
that's something that that Rachel and I experienced as well, where I was trying to like figure out how to navigate us working together closely, but being on opposite sides of the house. And I remember that was a conversation we had in the storage room. I don't know if that, you know, made it into the live feeds or not, but
yeah, I remember that one.
Where I was like talking to Morgan, I think, or something like that. And I was like, yeah, Rachel, we can't have her in the jury. She's too emotional. But like secretly, I was like, yeah, we do, you know, we want her in there. And then I told Rachel, I was like, yeah, I told her we weren't working together. So it's all good. We don't want you in the jury. And she was like, what?
Yeah.
She's like, you don't do that. You need to bolster our position. I was like, okay, that makes sense.
Well, it makes sense that you wouldn't have come at it from that angle because you'd spent at that point, that was probably in the 40s, probably in terms of days.
Yeah, it was the week that Ava was HOH.
Right, because she had just told you about the heavy hitters at that point, right? And you had asked Vince about it.
Yeah.
And she was like, why? Because that did get her in a lot of trouble. Because Vince immediately told Mickey.
Man, I like to a fault, I trusted that guy. To a fault. Oh my God. I would have literally just told him everything because I was like, yo, that's my guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's where I really feel like I messed up. Was like I really trusted the wrong person.
Yep. There's a trust about it.
Yeah.
And she was like, why? Because that did get her in a lot of trouble. Vince immediately told Mickey.
Man, I like to a fault, I trusted that guy. To a fault. Oh my God. I would have literally just told him everything because I was like, yo, that's my guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's where I really feel like I messed.
Why? I wish they did. Well, why? Just because of this 3-person, this final 3 you made in the first week with him? You want to trust Vince? Like, what did Vince show him that made him think I would tell him anything? Because from our vantage point, Vince was much more interested in everybody else, was far closer to his Zach and Morgan alliance, and screwed Keanu over so many times. And it's like he never learned from it. He's like, I'd tell him anything. I'd die for that guy. Like, what in the Charlie Manson is going on with Vinny that he can pull these people like this? It's cuckoo.
So I was like, I really trusted the wrong person.
Yep. There's a rough one. So ultimately Zay leaves this week. And again, this was interesting because like the sides of the house, like typically there's more of a structure in the game that develops in the first couple of weeks. And I would say personally that the reason a structure doesn't develop this season is because of Vince primarily. He was the first HOH, and you know, him and Jimmy and Morgan were really like the power players of the house. Mickey too, but she wasn't included in the heavy hitters at first, although she was told about it by Jimmy. And so they really should have been like forming stuff. But the problem is that Morgan had her own separate agenda and Jimmy had his own separate agenda. So they were like really clashing a lot. And Vince is not the kind of player that like actively creates structure. He is a very reactive player, and you know, just wants to be good with as many people as possible. So because he was playing so passively, structures couldn't build around him because he was just like kind of like hopping around. So instead, Jimmy wins the second HOH, and again, the structure should have solidified from here. Jimmy should have been able to really lock in the heavy hitters. The problem is some of these powers. You know, should have been such an easy week. You or Kelly for sure leave this week, except both of you end up safe.
Yeah, that's interesting. I I thought it was pretty funny how that shook out, and I really was. I was really wanting to be able to, because of my power and stuff, be able to like bring some people in and really solidify the 5 or 6 people that I really wanted to work with. But it became more of just like, hey, let's flush those things out. So.
Yeah, I mean, he would have nominated you regardless. Obviously, it was just like he wanted to, I think, smartly solidify his power structure, and you and Kelly were very easy sort of like house targets. And so the fact that both of you ended up being safe was really bad luck for him. And this is where he screwed up, because he still held on to this idea that he wanted to do something easy. And in his mind, that was Will and Amy. And that really pissed off Morgan and Mickey because they wanted him to do Riley. So funny, I guess, story for Riley. He was in the original Heavy Hitters. Was originally the 6th member. But anytime they tried to like get him with a group, he'd be like, why do we need to talk in a group? I'll just tell you right now how I feel. And that really pissed Zach off. He was like, why is this guy in our alliance? He never wants to talk to us. And so they ended up kicking him out of the alliance, and just excluding him, and then remade the Heavy Hitters later with Mickey instead of him.
This is crazy. It's almost like Keanu wasn't even there. All this new information he's taking in from Taran. This seems like unprecedented that we've had a player know so little about the game they played for so long. So much new information. Again, proving that this BB Butt Blaster and the just having, competition wins keep people like this in the game longer than they probably should be in a social strategy game. Because Keanu's like, oh, that's funny. What happened? That happened? He did no idea. Oh my goodness.
And so they ended up starting to feel like, okay, we can't get Keanu. We can't get Kelly. We don't like this budding Catherine Riley thing. Why don't we just target Riley? We'll just take him out of the game. He's going to be a physical threat. It makes a ton of sense. The problem was that Jimmy felt like he was really good with Catherine. And Morgan and Mickey did not like Catherine that much. And so this like conflict started happening where Jimmy was hanging out a lot with Lauren and Catherine. And they were like, yeah, we're with you. And then Mickey and Morgan were pushing like, dude, Riley, Catherine, at least somebody. And he was like, I think Amy and Will. I think Will is a pawn. Amy as a target, potentially. Amy wasn't initially a target, but like Amy had been caught saying Jimmy's name the week before, and they had made up, but like that was still on his mind. And I'm sure also on his mind was like, it weakens Rachel a little bit, which makes her easier to work with.
Right.
And so really, really pissed off Mickey and Morgan. And they were already in that week saying, we want to remake an alliance without Jimmy now. We want him gone. And in the meantime, I think you'll see this in the episode. Jimmy felt like he still had a working relationship with you in the sense that like he just nominated you, but now you're safe. And now he needs to try and, get you to be as not mad at him as possible.
Right.
And so he has this conversation with you where you want Will on the block, and we'll talk about why. And he wants you to think that you are convincing him to put up Will, even though he already wanted to, so that you feel like you've convinced him and that you've made like a deal.
He told me that's what he wanted, and I was just trying to like solidify that that's what he was going to do, because the alternative was, I believe, Adrian or something, or somebody.
Adrian
else.
was already.
I can't remember who it was. All I wanted was to make sure that somebody that I felt like I was really good with and working with was not going to be on the block. So really what I wanted there was just to solidify that it was Will on the block. And he thought, I found out later that he thought I was going to go run my mouth and say that it was like that I did that and stuff like that. It's like, I know that I didn't do that. I just solidified it. You already told me you wanted to do that.
Well, because I do remember you talking to let's see, I think it was Kelly afterward about this and feeling like, hey, I think I've got him to be looking at Will. And then I also remember that you had said at one point that because Jimmy never told anybody your involvement, it made you feel like, oh, like maybe I can trust Jimmy. Maybe I did make an impact there.
Oh yeah. Well, 100%. The fact that he didn't tell anybody, that I wanted Will to be up there, or at least I thought he didn't tell anybody.
Yeah, he unfortunately actually did.
yeah. No, I found out later that he did. But yeah, I thought he and I were I was able to at least have an ally outside of the people that I actually wanted to work with.
Mm-hmm. So talk to me about the Will situation, because it was very confusing for us at first. We eventually saw in the episode a bit of the origin of this, but basically in the attempt at getting Zay the votes to stay, there were multiple alliances made. One was the Bond, which I believe made the episodes. And then the other, the Burger Boys definitely made the episodes. They were both just like fake alliances, basically, in an attempt to get votes to get Zay to stay, which didn't work anyway. But it did work on Will, the Burger Boys. And he votes for Zay to stay. Riley votes for Zay to go because that's what Catherine wants. And there's a whole bunch of confusion because Riley is telling you that he voted for Zay to stay. But he's telling the other people that he voted for Zay to go. Meanwhile, Will is telling you that he voted for Zay to stay. Yeah. And telling other people that he voted for Zay to go. And so you end up thinking that Will is lying to you and not Riley. And then eventually, I believe you were also then trying to claim Will's vote, saying if Will lied, then I was that vote to keep Amy.
Amy, move. Sorry, my dog's going crazy because they're blowing leaf blowers out here.
Oh, yeah.
So what happened there was, okay, so remember, I thought Vince and Riley, ride or die. Riley would not lie to me, right? So
I can't. Some of this, like, remember, I thought Vince and Riley, ride or die. Because one time during week 1, we decided that. Oh my God. Lily. Hopefully I'm saying your name correctly. Thank you for the super sticker. So sweet of you. So part of this is like a little difficult. I'm going to fast forward just a teeny bit because I don't know how many more times I can hear him say, remember, Riley and Vince thought BFF. Besties for the resties. Bros before hoes. Team dicks. Okay, remember? Remember Taran? And Taran's like, yeah. Okay.
But their connection to you, from Jimmy's perspective, was just keeping him safe. From Rachel's perspective, was exactly. And so your conversations again were very fair. Connection to you, from Jimmy's perspective, was just keeping him safe. From Rachel's perspective, was exactly what you were trying to do with Rachel. And so your conversations again were very funny.
Wow. So what were the conversations that we were having that were kind of like the opposite?
So I mean, toward the end of this week, of course, when you have a conversation with both her and Jimmy separately, where you're trying to be like, hey, get in on the majority here. The majority's voting to keep Adrian.
Right. Oh, that's right. When I was trying to get Adrian safe. Right.
And so
because I thought they were kind of like, from my perspective, they were both kind of like right in the middle there.
Right. Yeah.
That's right. I remember now, yeah.
Like, hey, you know, get on the side that we're on while the going's good, you know.
Yeah,
and they were like,
I think I even made a comment about throwing Rachel a life vest or something.
Yeah. And meanwhile, Rachel was like, Keanu, I don't think you have the votes. And you were like, Rachel.
Yeah. Well, hey, to be fair, you know, I mean, as far as I know, I'm not 100% sure, but as far as I know, Vinny and Zach flipping at the last second thing. So at least we could have made it a tie. So I felt like all we needed was Rachel or Jimmy, not even both.
Yeah, that is very fair, because I would say Rachel's confidence in the votes was unwarranted. It was actually a lot closer than she thought. It was just that really both of your confidence in the votes were unwarranted, because Vinny and Zach were really all over the place.
This is good. I didn't realize how long we were going to be doing this for.
Listen, however, like the pace you want to go, we can always sort of speed up or
no,
or whatever.
I'm having a great time breaking down week by week. Like, so I'm here for it.
Cool. Okay, so
Keanu's like, I'm here for it. This is going to be clearly very long. I just need a little more Red Bull. Thank you, Lady Jane, for the super chat. Lady Jane said, thanks, Jolene, for your amazing follow-up on BB27. Thank you. That's so sweet of you. So Keanu's like, oh, no, I'm here for it. We got this. We can do this. Oh, boy.
How many episodes did you get to in terms of like?
I've got it for no particular reason. The last episode I saw was I believe you have a prompt.
Okay, so that means you still that
was Mickey's HOH.
Mickey's HOH. Okay, so you've still seen these episodes. I don't remember how much they showed of the Zach and Vinny teeter-totter. But
yeah, that's why I was saying, to my knowledge, it was actually, you know, a last second thing as far as I know.
Is that coming from what they told you? Because they did lie.
Yeah, that's coming from what they from what they told me.
All right, so this will be interesting, I guess. First of all, of course, the getting Adrian up on the block in the first place was quite the coup. He never should have been on the block. This is wild. You know, Lauren didn't want him on the block. Vinny and Zach, neither of them wanted him on the block. But there's a very effective push from Ashley, from Mickey, Morgan, Jimmy. They all went up one after another, really putting the fear of God into Lauren about like, hey, you know, you wouldn't want to be on Keanu's side, would you? And that was the big thing too, is that like she had talked to you and you had offered to even take the blame for the nomination. But then that sort of backfired, because then she was like, well, I don't want Keanu taking credit for like what I'm doing. I don't want to be associated with, I don't want to be on that side. Right. And so she really was worried about being lumped in with, you know, the outcasts, so to speak, and being on the wrong side of things. And so she felt like the way to keep everyone happy was to put Adrian up instead of Ashley. And this is where, like, you know, I talk about the strength of those things. You know, the outcast status or the social hierarchy. Like, if she had stopped to think about it for, like, you know, 2 seconds, she could have realized that, like, if she and Vinny and Zach had just joined your side, none of you would, the other side would have been the outcasts at that point, right?
Right.
Like,
That's what I was trying to get everyone to see. It was like, yo, like, we got more, like, even if we didn't have the numbers per se at that time, we had a much more diverse group of people that I felt like we could have won like any HOH in any veto. So that's what I was trying to get everyone to see, was like, guys, like, we might not have the numbers right now. We might not be the cool kids, but we are like much more diverse, and we have the ability to win on any given week. Like, why aren't we doing this? And I think just from what I'm understanding is my social standing was literally like in the negatives, that people were more scared to join me, even if it meant being a part of a stronger group.
Yep, that's exactly what it was. Basically, I would say, you know, obviously there's so many things that factor into each decision and so many people that you might want to credit. Mickey was a huge force in terms of driving the Adrian nomination. Ashley did a really great job of, like, scaring Vince into submission, being like, Vince, I know you have a lot of influence over Lauren, so if I don't go up, you know, I'm going to really thank you. And he was like, well, that's a lot of pressure. And then he later told Morgan, like, so that means that if she does go up, that I'm going to be the one she blames. And so I was losing my mind that week at Vince and Zach, because I was like, Lauren at this point is just like, please tell me what to do. I can't decide. I'm not sure. And I'm just like, Vince, Zach, just tell her to put up Ashley. Just be like, this is what we have to do. And they just wouldn't do it until the very last minute, when it was like far too late. So all of this is happening. And then Adrian goes up on the block. And Adrian, I will also say, I would say, fell victim to the same thing, where, like, Adrian was telling people he was going to target you. He was even telling the cameras he was going to target you, even though you were one of his only allies at that point. It wasn't until toward the end of the week that he was like, maybe I shouldn't be targeting Keanu. Like, maybe that's not a smart thing to do for me. But
yeah, that made me really upset when he pulled me into the back.
Adrian was another, like, horrible recruit. Or I think Adrian might have applied, but horrible. That was, no offense, all offense to Adrian and his bread mance that he wanted to make happen, but he was one of the worst casting decisions. I don't want to be hyperbolic here, but, like, yeah, like, the worst. From his preseason, we were like, oh, we're gonna get something cuckoo, and then was completely different and almost worse than the preseason interviews, which were annoying, but at least they would have been entertaining. He did nothing. I was like, what is this man doing here? And then after the fact, after he leaves, pre-jury, very early, he's just trying to make the bread thing work. And we're like, that was in one episode, and I think they just needed something for you as like a swan song. Nobody talked about that. Like, that was really bad. That was a really bad casting. Adrian was a really bad casting decision. Like, I feel like it was just a ploy, like a gag that he had of, yeah, I built competitions in my backyard to get on a show and do nothing, and do absolutely nothing. I was so disappointed. I was like, wow, this is blasphemous. like a boring clout chasey. I didn't understand it. I'll never understand it. And then up until the moment, you know, he's not trying to work with, he's not, you know, and then he's like, Keanu, do I have your vote? It's like, Keanu's actually working for you. He's actually trying to get you to stay. I had no idea what Adrian was doing. I don't even know if Adrian knows what Adrian's doing. I'm like, what? No, that was horrible, you guys. That was really bad.
Back room saying like, hey man, I have your vote, right? I was like, brother, yes, I've been advocating for you all week. What's going on here?
That was why he fell into, everyone's telling him you can't trust Keanu. And he was like, I can't trust Keanu. He also hates liars. I don't know if you've heard. So
you have to stop casting adults that can't say a swear. Okay. It's one thing to be like, I just don't swear. You know, it's just not in, as I don't like to articulate myself that way. I don't want to say the Effenheimer. Okay. I don't want to say fuck. Cool. But to have someone that is basically swearing, but just saying, what the flip? What the frick frack? Flip and slip? To just change the words, you're still basically swearing. It's one thing to just not swear, but to be like, I don't swear. But then you're saying, you're using a different cutesy word for the F word, for shit, for bitch. That was too much. Why did they do that? Why did you do that to us, Big Brother? That was really bad.
It's inappropriate.
That was horrible. And I'm getting like, I forgot about Adrian, and now it's all coming back to me now, like Celine Dion, and I'm upset again. Like, what the frick? What the flip? Like, you might as well say fuck at this point, because we're all adults here. It's one thing to just completely remove it, but to like make little words for it. Come on. What's going on? What's happening preschool?
So with Adrian on the block, same pressure applied. It was like, you can get, you can keep Adrian against Will, but if you do that, you'll piss off all these people that you just, capitulated to in the first place. So the idea is like, well, why would we lose all of the social standing we just garnered by putting Adrian up in the first place by keeping him? We should have just not put him on the block in the first place, which,
Right.
yeah, you should have. But it was still like building momentum. Lauren really wanted to do it. Lauren wanted to break the tie and keep Adrian. By the night before the vote, she was like, guys, I'm ready. Let's do it. Morning of, she was like, let's do it. And it was actually Vinny and Zach that held her back because they really wanted to not make it a tie. They still had strong connections to players, specifically Morgan, on the other side that they wouldn't want to piss off. And so they were trying to get more. They didn't want it to be a tie. They wanted to get more votes. So they tried with Rachel and Jimmy. You tried with Rachel and Jimmy. Didn't work. They tried they tested the waters, just very dipped their toes in with Morgan, and didn't work. So then they were like, what about Ava? What if we got Ava's vote? And so they went to Ava and they made a hard push to get Ava to flip her vote with them. And then if Ava had gone with them, they would have done it. But it was actually Ava that was like, frankly, guys, I don't think that's a smart idea. Do you really want to be on the side with Keanu? Frankly, I think that's not very smart. And Zach was like, oh my God, it's not very smart. And seemingly Ava completely just has them backing off on the idea entirely. And so while Lauren is like, I'm ready to do it, they say, I don't think we should. And so that was basically the night before they had been convinced not to do it. And then the morning of, they locked it in, we're not doing it. And then, so of course, right afterward, Vinny basically blames Zach for it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, well, hey, listen, man, I in that moment when I was speaking to him, it felt like a very human thing. He called himself a spineless weasel and all those things. And yeah, man, I felt for him. He felt like he didn't want to be on the wrong side of the vote. And the way he made it sound to me was that he fell victim to a very human emotion. And I was like, dude, all right, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. We'll get through this. All we got to do is win the next HOH. And that's just me being dumb again, just choosing to believe him. And yeah, I think that'll forever go down as like my biggest mistake, was just riding with him from like day 2, literally to day 77.
Yeah, I would say
I feel like these people don't have a lot. This cast does not have a lot of experience with emotional manipulators like Vince. Vince is someone who uses his emotions, his crybaby, his, fake, I'm a weasel, putting himself down to further himself. That was his strategy. That seems to be just what he does. And they all took it as him being genuine, but it read so false to me. So I don't know if I've just encountered, unfortunately, more of these people in my life or what, but it read so manipulative. If you have a grown man who's 35 who's like, I guess I just don't know now. It's like, but you are making decisions, and you're making decisions that don't align with the game I thought we were playing together, and you never own it. And it's always someone else's fault, or it's, I'm just such a, like, it's really hard for me to do this. You come in with so much baggage and then just fall back like, well, I guess I'm just like a little bitch.
I don't have any votes
I'd be like,
now.
no, you got to take some accountability. Okay. You are too old. It is not like you're in your early 20s. You're a teenager. You're 35 years old, sir. Damn near. And he got away with it for so long. And there was never a point where Keanu, he would just be like, come on, man, you got to buck up. No, I'd be like, I would look at this man and be like, this has got to be an act. This isn't real. This can't be real.
sorry. I'm such a fucking bitch, man. Maybe I fucking suck at this game then.
It's so manipulative. I'm like, you don't walk around with that mustache and those beanies. You think pretty highly of yourself. I don't believe for a second you can't convince me that Vince doesn't think highly of himself. No. This false, like, oh God, I'm just so unsure. Sir, this is how he gets what he wants. And Keanu's like, I was trying to help him. He doesn't need help. He needs someone to call his ass out. Like, so frustrating.
Because this is the first big moment where you see from actions that like Vinny did not do what he said he was going to do. That like if he was on board, he should have been there. He's saying he screwed up. He's saying he made a mistake. And to your credit, you do look at him sideways from this point forward. But what I think the issue for you came in that despite the fact that you started looking at him sideways, it didn't actually change the way you interacted with him all that much. You still ended up telling him all of the information that you had, and you still ended up like giving him stuff that he would use then to bury you. And so it's really, I think, at this point that like, given the evidence that you had, it really was the time to be like, okay, I need to stop telling him things because I don't know for sure that I can trust him.
Yeah, I agree. No, I 100% agree. That was very dumb of me. But there's like a weird, overwhelming like feeling because like as just on a human level, Vinny actually reminds me of a lot. And I commented this on, I believe, one of your guys' videos, that he reminded me a lot of one of my actual brothers. And like I would never abandon one of my brothers for making a human mistake and things like that. So that was one of those more like human moments, not game moments, where I was like, dude, I get it. Don't understand. I mean, I understand. Don't worry about it. It was a human moment you had. We'll get through this, and it was one of those things where like I could never overcome that feeling of like not wanting to abandon him, even though it was just a game. In those moments, for me, it was more of like a brotherhood thing, not a game.
Mm-hmm.
This is so weird. Well, didn't any of the girls remind you of your sisters? Because what, you got 5 of them? 4 of them, you said? Vinny's like a brother. Okay. I couldn't abandon. What do you mean abandon him? He had relationships with so many people in the game. He had 1 million final twos. You saw him like actively socializing with people. You saw people going to him. You heard from Rachel, like, what is this dude's deal? People are like, I need to check with Vinny. You had HOHs like, Lauren, I need to check with Vinny. I need to talk to Vinny. You saw his relationship with Morgan. You saw his relationship with Zach. How did you think he needed help? Like that, I can't believe people really fell for the, no.
I don't have any votes now.
It's insane to me. I didn't want to leave him alone. He was never alone. He always had someone picking him up off the ground. That was such a blind spot for Keanu. Like, what? Yeah, a human moment, like Adam says, of snaking you. That just like, there's no way. I just don't believe Keanu is, come on. Sir. I think Keanu just thought, well, if I give him enough kettlebells, I get him in the gym, get him some muscles, some creatine, he'll be okay. No, this is who he is. This is what he does. This is how he's gotten this far in his life, in my opinion. It's crazy. Oh my gosh. I just couldn't abandon him. They act like this guy is just, seriously, they just act like this is his make-a-wish. Like this was his dying wish. He's literally dying. Like, he just wanted to play this game, man. I couldn't abandon him. He's a grown, capable, straight white man in America. He's killing it. Everything's built for him. And in this game. And yet here we are going, oh, poor Vinny. Like, what?
And I feel like he really capitalized on my kindness when it came to that. And that was why I made, that speech about taking my kindness for weakness and stuff like that. And even in spite of saying that, I still was like, don't worry, bro. I love you, man. Don't worry.
I mean, the thing is, like, to some degree, I think that is an admirable quality, like in real life. If he really was your brother. And I think that like holding that or sort of like if somebody comes to you and they say, I'm so sorry I screwed up, I think it's fair to, again, similar to the Jimmy situation, be like, yeah, it's fine. It really is just like making sure you hold it in your back pocket.
Yeah.
And I would say in particular, and this can like maybe bring this up a little bit, but like I think it really played into sort of a perception that you had of your relationship with Vinny and the relationship you had with Riley. That like I think that like really fit into what you wanted, the kind of relationship you wanted to have with them, rather than the relationship you actually had. If that makes sense.
Right. Yeah. No. 100%. Like I said, I really like romanticized that whole like duo thing, and you know, I really thought I had that in both Vince and Riley. Like in my brain, dude, that was like ride or die, 100%. These dudes will never turn their back on me, and it's so funny. Like it just makes me feel so dumb for like thinking that, and then knowing what they were actually thinking in the background.
Yeah, I believe the
I love Taran's. Yeah, a lot of times you hear Taran go, "Yeah, that was rough." Yeah. The romanticizing of it is such a interesting way to put it. Just romanticize this threesome between me and Vinny and Riley. Just romanticize. I wish I had like a sexy song. I just romanticize. Just thought 3 dudes, you know, one with little muscles, one with medium muscles, and me with big muscles. You know, just being true to each other to the end, just like broing out.
You're freaking massive, bro. Keanu'S is obviously big as hell. He's just a really strong, fit guy, and I like that. Dude, I know.
And I like that.
And I like that. It's like I romanticized it. Man, you really romanticized it. Like in an obsessive way. Oh, Keanu. Wake up,
the
sir.
comment you left was when I was talking to Corey from season 25. You know, sorry, Corey, but there's actually a little bit of a correlation here. He had a somewhat similar situation where he wanted to create a Danielle and Jason-esque relationship with a player, Mimi, that season. He like linked up with her early and was like, "Hey, we've got this secret relationship." And like the entire season, she just didn't like him. He like never saw it. And so it is a thing where like you can often have this desire to play one way or to like have a certain kind of relationship. And then when you hear information or you see things that happen that contradict what you want, you'll find a way to be like, nah, it's okay if it went this way, then it could make sense, right? Like, like if it was just this human moment, and if it was just like this, and that's, I think, a really dangerous thing in the game for players.
100%. Yeah. Well, the fact that I kept doing that, like it wasn't just that one time.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was like it literally happened like 3 or 4 times, and I was like, dude, don't worry about it.
And it's at this point too where like Rachel's really trying to open everyone's eyes about Vince. She's working on Ava. She makes the final 2 with Ava, and is like, "Hey, watch Vince." And Ava starts watching Vince, and Ava's like, "Wow, you're right. Like he's everywhere. He's talking to Lauren a lot." And Ashley too has been talking about Vince for a while. She sees the Vince Morgan connection. She sees that Vince is talking to a lot of people, and Rachel's trying to like sound the alarm, like, "Hey, Vince is like this kind of like mastermind-esque Tyler character," and you keep like, "Vince, she thinks you're some kind of mastermind." And Vince, who 100% in his mind is like, "Maybe I am," is like, "Yeah."
You know, it's funny because I feel like I spent so much time alone that like I would see him talking to the same people. So like, was I aware that he was talking to Morgan, Zach, and Lauren a lot? Yeah. But I thought by extension, because he was good with the exception of Morgan. Obviously, I was going after Morgan and Mickey because of the things Jimmy told me. But I thought I was good with Zach. I thought I was good with Lauren. You know, so it never really like bothered me, and I never really saw him talking to a lot of other people. And I think that was mostly just because at that particular time I was spending a lot of time alone because no one was spending time with me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was like, every time she told me he was like, you know, this mastermind and stuff like that, I was like, Vinny, what?
Something I think that players often should be looking out for. We talked about this a lot in season 19 when Paul really ran the house, was that Paul was everyone's intermediary. They go from like one duo over here to another duo over here, and everyone would trust Paul to like interact with the people that they weren't close to for them. And they'd run back to these duos and be like, "Hey, this is how they're feeling about you. Don't worry, I'm working on them to make sure that they feel better," so on and so forth. And everyone's like, "Oh, Paul's looking out for me." And in the meantime, it just gave Paul all of the power. right?
Yeah.
And I think that like once you experience what it's like to be working with people that you can actually trust, that you are actually like in a good position with and in power with, it'll be like easier to spot when that's not happening. But because you never were in that position, like you walked into the house and very quickly found yourself in the position where you were on the outs, like there was nothing for you to compare it to. It was just like, well, I guess this is just how alliances work. And it's like, no, they shouldn't work that way, Keanu. That's not how it should feel.
Oh my gosh.
I have tried to tell you everything I've heard. I'm trying to work with you. You're my personal trainer. I like you. I'm trying to keep you in here for selfish reasons because I need to get in shape. I need you to get it together. Play Big Brother. Don't play telephone. Don't overgame. That's what I was.
I mean, Rachel, she tried. She tried so much. And he's like, okay, Rachel. Okay, whatever, major loser. It's crazy. Oh my God.
I feel so lost right now.
Keanu's still like, I feel so lost right now. And Rachel did get in shape. She did get in shape. Oh my goodness.
Wow. That's funny.
So ultimately, Adrian is evicted. It's a blindside. And let's see here. I moved up in my notes. So Riley wins the next HOH. And Vince immediately is throwing Zach right under the bus, which I did find amusing. I thought it was actually, I would say, one of Vince's more successful, like, active plays, because he really, like, even though Kelly was pretty upset with him, and I mean, everyone was upset with him, but like, he really was able to fully throw Zach under the bus, and Zach had no idea. And Zach fully, like, went with the company line, while Vince was able to be like, it's Zach's fault. And then, you know, you and Riley and Catherine were like, screw Zach. And you know, Vinny, he really messed up, but screw Zach.
Yeah, no, he definitely, he got us good on that one, for sure.
And so, in part because of this, in many ways, this all goes haywire. So you did see this in the episode, so you know Zach's sort of involvement here, with the power. Mickey has this overthrow power. At this point, everyone knew about it. I believe even you had been in some conversations, but I don't think you had been in like the big ones, because basically what happened was, and I think you saw this in the episodes, Zach was standing right there when she got it. So he pretty much knew 100% that Mickey had it. And he told a lot of people that as well. He was like, hey, I was standing there. I'm like 99% sure that Mickey has this power. And so there were only a few people in the house that didn't have that full confirmation. And you, I believe, were one of those people.
Yeah.
The thing is, I swear Riley was not one of those. I swear to you, Riley was in some of those conversations.
I don't think Riley was, because he and I were convinced that, like, either we were convinced it was either Ashley or Mickey, and it was like a toss up on who. And I think the way that Ashley was acting that night in particular led us to believe that it was her.
Yeah, I feel like I remember him being, but the thing is that, like, he wasn't in as many of the conversations. He was definitely in some of the conversations where people are like, oh, Mickey has it 100%. But then the thing I was saying, because basically in the community, for weeks, we've been like, oh, waste of the power. Mickey's power will never work because everyone knows she has it. Everyone would instantly choose her. Except for maybe Keanu.
Well, yeah, I was not in any of those conversations, so no one had ever told me that Mickey had the power.
Yeah. But what I was saying was, I actually think that this whole questioning thing is going to make it more difficult than not. Because even if you have a pretty good idea of who has it, because like even Riley had said like the week before, Mickey 100% has it. And he didn't, I think, have like the concrete evidence, but he believed that she did. But the fact that you are now going to spend time questioning every person, it's going to make you rethink things you already knew and make you question things that you might have already suspected, and give opportunity, which Ashley was able to very smartly do, to throw in extra doubt. So Ashley goes up there, pretends like she has it, and Riley's like, she's got it. It's her. And Zach could have told him, but I would say smartly didn't, because Riley and Catherine did talk about how they were hoping to backdoor Zach that week if they had the chance. And then Vinny, of course, actually, I think I have a clip of what Vinny said in the episode.
I let him know without pushing too hard.
Because at that time I was like, classic Vinny. Classic Vinny doesn't push too hard. Like,
Yeah.
you should have just told him if you wanted him to be HOH.
So he told him that Mickey had it?
Basically, Vinny was like, I don't know. I really think it's Mickey.
Oh, okay.
Really? I don't think it's Ashley. I don't think so. I think it's Mickey. But at that point, Riley had already been convinced by Ashley's sort of ploy. So Mickey ends up taking over the HOH. This was a wild night for the live feeders, Keanu, because at this point, Riley was, not very popular. And a lot of people, the feeds came back to Riley as the HOH. They went to bed and then woke up the next morning to Mickey as the HOH. And at this point, Mickey was very popular. And so it was like, what a roller coaster ride. Now this HOH would be the last week that Mickey was very popular, but
And that's kind of how the whole season went. Exactly. That it was like, oh, Mickey, she's gonna win. She's a front runner. And then all of a sudden we were like, oh, never mind. Never mind. She's lost her mind. She's clearly something's wrong with her.
This week has been shit.
Oh man, but when she first took Riley's power, there was nothing better. We were all like, yes, this is awesome. And then immediately targeted her own ally and tried to save Riley and partnered up with him and Kat and thought she could work with someone who she just stole the HOH from. It was the craziest thing. So dumb.
So nominations are pretty straightforward. You and Kelly continue to be the obvious choices. And then Riley, she stole his HOH. She kind of cussed her out afterward. And you, of course, then win the veto again. And this is the prompt moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So this was interesting because feeds came back. We didn't see the competition on the feeds. Feeds came back and everyone was talking about you like blowing up on Ava. And you had like apologized and everyone was like, good on you, Ava, for sticking up for yourself. And we were like, oh, what happened? And then we all watched the episode and you said, I believe you have a prompt. Yeah. And we were like, that can't be it, right? They edited something out, right? And we're like asking Zach and like people in the extras are like, did something else happen? Like asking Jimmy, like what happened in the thing? They're all just like, no, you just said, I believe you have a prompt. We just thought it was disrespectful. Like,
yeah, man, it was crazy because there was a lot of, there's obviously what they don't show is that there was a lot of dead air there. So really the reason I said that was because it was like, and I'm not even exaggerating, there was like at least 5 to like 8 minutes of straight silence. And nobody was celebrating with me or anything. So I was like, that's when I told her, I was like, I believe you have a prompt. Because I was like, yo, if we're not going to celebrate, I want this veto to go back to the house and celebrate by myself. Because like, I don't want to just be standing here. This is awkward.
Yeah. In terms of like BB trash talk, pretty sure that's pretty low on the scale of house target wins veto. Right. Like, also, like, and this is where I think this is probably the moment that took you over the top for the fans. I think like your response to Jimmy, the BB Butler, this was the moment where people were like, that was a fun line. And like people seem to really like overreact to it. It was sort of the sentiment. And I do think that like through the season, you consistently were able to like retort the various speeches and declarations against you very effectively, which again I think goes back to like you not rising to like other people's like emotional prods. But this is probably my favorite moment. I believe you have a prompt. I thought was very fun, especially because it made people so mad.
Yeah,
I will say I think it has also something to do with the fact that Keanu was less rehearsed than these house guests that wanted to make moves, not even moves in the game, but wanted to get airtime, like Jimmy and Ava. They were so performative. They were so over rehearsed. The reads were tired and stale, where Keanu was just reacting in the minute. And I think, as a comedian, I have to say this goes back to some of, I think, his improv training, is that in improv, you are taught to trust your instincts and to trust yourself. And so whatever decision you make in that moment as you're improvising is the right thing. You don't need to have a script. You trust that your instincts will give you the right reaction in that scene or in that situation. So I think that yes, the yes and. So Keanu, every time someone tried to read him, Jimmy with the sunglasses, which was so annoying. Ava, what? And he's like, I believe you have a prompt. My favorite was Jimmy in the nominations, going on, and Keanu just put his sunglasses on and sat back like this. Cause he eviscerated them without having to do much. And they prepared so much for these moments, to make these TV moments. And Keanu just naturally reacting like, okay, bitch, whatever, was far more entertaining than, because it wasn't performative. It was just like him going, oh God, are you done? Though that's all he had to do, because that's how bad these other people were and how rehearsed they were and how performative they were. It was just like, I'll never forget the most performative time, the worst, most scripted, just Delulu point was Ava when she pre-planned it with Vince when he's going to nominate her. First of all, you should be fighting for your life in this game. But she's like, I'm going to pull out a chess piece. Apparently the chess piece got caught. So it took her a while to get it out of her shirt. She's like, the only pawn you're going to have is this one. And we were all like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed for you. That was so cringy. It was corny. It was the worst thing I've ever seen. It was horrible. I feel like she should be still in hiding because of that. It was so bad. And then she slammed the door only to stay outside. And what we saw on the feeds, or I think we even saw it in the episode, is then people went outside and she's like, was that good? Was that good? What? There was nothing genuine about this woman. Oh, I'm not even remembering it. I'm like, oh, it was horrible. I got your pawn. I'm like, oh my God, please stop. Please stop. I'm going to throw up. Okay. And I'm not against some corny stuff, but that was so bad.
Yeah, that was corny.
It was really bad. So Keanu just merely reacting, not being performative. He just owned him. I was like, way to go. So I loved it.
Yeah, that was, man, what made me more upset than anything was, and this is what makes it so funny to go back and watch and realize that Kelly and Riley didn't even want anything to do with me anyway, was the whole reason I even was upset and wanted to go back and celebrate by myself, whatever, was because I was like, they didn't show this in the episode, but when I beat Riley and I gave him a hug, I was actually tearing up and almost crying because I felt like I essentially sent one of my best friends home, either Kelly or Riley. So I was actually crying about it. And then I go back, beat Rachel, and everyone's just quiet. And I was like, yo, all right, if no one's going to celebrate, that's fine with me. But at least let me go back to the house because I'm not just going to stand here in this dead silence. This is awkward.
Mm-hmm. So this is when things get very interesting because you win this veto. And that, of course, sends terror into the hearts of Mickey and Morgan, Mickey in particular, who just was trying to target you. At this point, she's already weirdly Riley also seems to have this weird power in the house where he had just, cussed her out, was clearly going after her. But then in a matter of days, Mickey was like, Riley's 100% with me. Riley and Catherine are locked in with me. They are my numbers, and I'm going to keep them safe this week. And so for her, she was searching for a replacement, target essentially. And there were obviously a few options. Again, much of the house was pushing for Catherine to go up on the block, to just send one of Catherine and Riley home. She was adamant about not doing that. So then it came down to the person that Rachel and Ashley and them had been pushing, which was Vince, or the person that she had been really upset at a couple of weeks ago, of course, which was Jimmy. And with you remaining in the game, it obviously made a lot of sense for them to want to continue to throw Jimmy under the bus as a scapegoat, which makes a lot of sense for them until they're the ones that sent him home themselves. Because what's the point in having you blame Jimmy?
Right.
If they take him out for you, then who are you going to go after? Because you don't have Jimmy to go after anymore.
Right. Yeah, that was, I mean, like I said, we had that conversation up in the HOH room. And once we realized that it was Jimmy, obviously I was pushing for it because I wanted him out of the game more than anybody. But I guess they felt like he was.
That was still the dumbest move. That was so stupid. Oh, just getting rid of your own ally, stealing someone's HOH who was going to put you on the block, saving them, then trying to develop a relationship to work with them and their showmans, Riley and Catherine, and then going after Jimmy rather than just talking to him about the issues they had and then blindsiding him. Oh my God. now I'm reminded of just the stupidity of this. That was such a waste. The original stealing of Riley's HOH, epic. And then everything after that was like, well, why did you even do it? What? To go after Jimmy? Oh, God, so stupid.
From what I understand, they felt like he was kind of starting to sway towards actually working with me, and that was not okay with them.
Yeah, which, wasn't true, right? Like he was, I mean, I think in your mind at the time, you still believed it to be somewhat true, right? Like, because he was having these meetings with you and he was doing his best to like keep up appearances. But the reality was that he was locked in with them. And so I think in many ways, like your belief in Jimmy was part of what sunk him even more, because you believed so strongly that, or not so strongly, but like you believed that he was working with you. And therefore in their minds, they were like, oh, look at Jimmy playing the field, like putting us in a bad position. And it's like honestly, you can tell me if I have the wrong perspective of this, but like, I feel like Jimmy wasn't even trying that hard. I saw Jimmy occasionally being like, Mickey and Morgan really aren't that much against you. Like, Rachel certainly did that a bunch of times. But I remember Jimmy doing it once. And he eventually was like asking them like, what did you want me to do? Tell him, no, I'm the one you should be mad at, not them.
Yeah, there was, I think a big reason why I felt so strongly about Morgan and Mickey was that they wanted me to go after Jimmy so badly, and I had already believed that Jimmy was good, right? So like me and Jimmy were good. We had our talk, whatever. We hashed everything out. So to me, we're good. But they were insisting that I go after him so badly that instead of like believing them like I probably should have, I had already created a relationship with Jimmy that was strong to me in my eyes, stronger than one that I didn't even have with Mickey and Morgan. So like that was what I should be doing in my head.
Yeah, and that stemmed from that week when he was HOH. They were like, we should be telling Keanu about what Jimmy's really doing, to make sure that Jimmy doesn't have Keanu's number. And then you're up there in the HOH room after they tried to target you, and still saying that you believe Jimmy to be on your side. And they're like, this guy, like we've been trying to. But this is where like Mickey really lost a lot of people, was that like, okay, great, you've convinced Keanu that Jimmy really is the problem. Why are you doing Keanu's dirty work? Meanwhile, Keanu's downstairs like, well, once Jimmy is gone, like, so
I don't know. I literally said that. Once he's gone, I don't know what the heck I'm going to do.
Yeah. And so, honestly, I would say this was one of your more successful, not to say that you like tricked them into targeting Jimmy, because it's something that they had wanted to do, but like this conversation that you had with them was exactly what they needed to hear and got them to do a thing that they really should not have done. Yeah. And so this was like one of your stronger positions in the game. And this is probably one of your better weeks overall, because this is also a week where you're going to be, not that like, is it this? I think it's maybe this week into next week. Hold on. When does P-Gate happen?
Oh, I don't even remember. That's funny.
It was either this week or next week, I think. It's
not P-Gate. I feel like they made such a big deal. Like, who peed on the floor? I'll answer for you. All the men and a couple of the women probably peed on the floor. And they made P-Gate a thing. These people are nasty. Season after season, we see these people be nasty. All right? So all of the men and a couple of the women, I'm sure, just pissed on the floor and didn't care. I'm going to fast forward just a little bit because I don't care about P-Gate. I don't even think it's funny. I just think it's stupid.
So there's a lot of stuff here with Zach and Vinny and some back and forth. Brought up the jury, like she wants both Zach and Vinny on the jury, and Rachel is just like, I'm sick of hearing about this jury. If you and your friends think you're going to be able to bring me along to the jury, you've got another thing coming. They get into this big fight about it. Morgan afterward really latched onto the fact that Rachel said friends with an S. Me and my friends. And so this really started like the big rift between Rachel, Mickey, and Morgan. And then Mickey spends like the rest of the week doing one-on-ones, campaigning for everyone to take a shot at Rachel next week, which was, pretty wild. But that's basically that week. You are talking. So this is a thing that we had to mention a few times. You had a few conversations with Riley where you told him, hey, once it gets down to like final 5, final 4, whatever, like, you're going to have to cut Catherine. And we were just like, Keanu, In what world is Riley, I die for you, Catherine, gonna cut Catherine here? And he was so mad at you for like even bringing it up. And it was like, what, Keanu, why?
Man, I in my brain, well, first of all, I obviously didn't see the I'm gonna die for you stuff.
Yeah.
And I also didn't like, to me, I don't know how strong those relationships in there are. I know now in hindsight when Rachel tells me too, like, oh, you can't just break that up. Like that's not. But yeah, to me, I guess I knew how strongly I felt about our final three, so I just wanted to reinforce that he also had felt that way. And yeah, you don't do that.
Yeah, that's a pretty easy, I think, just like rule is that, and it's on, to be fair, it's one that a lot of people do fall into the trap of, but like showmances never turn on each other. Like there's maybe 1 in 100 that will do so prior to a final three scenario. There's maybe 5 in 100 that
This is like an important thing for future house guests. If you're ever watching any of these videos or you watch Taran's video, you get the showmances out. They're never going to turn on each other. Once the genitals are touching or pounding or pulsating for each other, it's over. Just like in life. It's another level. Emotions are involved. Jizz is involved. Things are involved. Fluids are involved. It becomes very difficult to break that up. And a lot of showmances go to the end together. Never think you can be a better ally than people that are genitally connected. Don't do it. That, and unfortunately, my motto is anyone with abs. You got to get rid of them. You got to get rid of abs. All right, early on. Because they will squeak their way to the end. You got to have a little bit of belly fat to play with me. A little bit or a lot of it. If you have defined abs, you got to go. And if you're in a showmance, you got to go. The combination of those two are deadly in this game for everybody else. No abs, no showmances. All right? Future players, go after the fittest and the ones most in love with each other. Abs, red flag. Relationship, red flag. They got to go. Say, get gone.
What the hell?
Okay?
Oh,
Can't work with them.
God,
No.
way.
Gotta go. Right? Thank you, Julie. Thank you. I'll be writing my book soon on Big Brother red flags.
will turn each other at the final three. But never before that. And so you should never, like, even when they're saying like, oh, I'm so pissed at this person, I can't believe they did this, they complain about them, they say, oh, I'm totally going to be willing to cut them because I know I can't beat them. It's always, even if it feels true to them in the moment, they're never actually going to betray those people. Those kinds of connections are just way too strong. It's like in real life when, somebody is in a relationship and they complain to you as a friend and they're like, oh, this person's really annoying. And then like you fall into the trap of like trash talking them and then they're back together the next week. And it's like, now you're the person that trash talked their significant other. It's like, it just doesn't work out.
For the same reason you never trash talk your significant other to your mom or something.
Yeah.
Keanu, now you're getting it. Yeah. You don't want to shit on your significant other too much to people because eventually then you're like building a case. And then, if you tell your parents like, oh my God, you need a healthy place to vent. But if you want your friends and family to like your significant other, be careful the words you choose. All right? Because it should be like, wow, you told me so much stuff about that one. Oh, so that's actually, Keanu is getting it. I'm proud of him for that one. Definitely. Thank you, David, for the super chat. David says, are you going to do a Halloween video? Yeah, I'll probably have some shorts of my Halloween tree decorations and other things. So yeah, I love the spooky season. So for sure.
I got you. Yeah, that makes sense.
So the rest of this week is, again, it's a lot of Mickey campaigning against Rachel, and then Zach is evicted after you crush them in the Blockbuster. Everyone was cheering for you, by the way. Like everyone was.
That was one of the coolest moments, man. Me coming back to my phone and seeing like some of the stories that people have posted and seeing like bars of people just like cheering. That was cool.
I would say because like, I'm sure you know this, but like there's the casual audience that watches the show, watches the episodes, and then there's like the live feeder audience who's like deeply ingrained in the community online. And I would say from my perspective, this was probably the height of your popularity for the live feeders, that you were like, Because quite frankly, in terms of popularity for the live feeders, it was often who is working with Rachel and who is not working with Rachel. In part because Rachel was a fan favorite, but also in part because, like when people were working with Rachel, they tended to be more likable. There was less trash talking going on. There was a lot of trash talking with Vinny and Zach and them. And then also, like, at least in your case, it was like when you were working with Vince.
Yeah, I don't think that's brought up enough. Zach talks so much shit. He was such a shit talker. He was like a gossip. Ugh, I don't miss him one bit. I was so happy when he left, and when he left with his power, I was like, oh, get gone. Get out of here. Carmel Rail says, Zach was such a silly player, flirting with Ashley and Morgan while obsessing over Lauren, right? In his dreams. Good luck, Zoran. Yep, with the long-distance relationship. Well, they're on the tiki-taki. God bless. But, oh, Zach was just such a little gossip queen.
You were being lied to, and you weren't aware of the truth. And when you were working with Rachel, she was telling you true things, and you had this like fun dynamic. And so people really love that that connection. And so you winning this blockbuster and sending home Zach, who didn't use the veto on himself, and all of this stuff was just like peak stuff here.
Nice. It's good to know that I had the live feeders at least for a little bit.
and I will say this too, like you weren't unpopular with the live feeders, I would say, ever really. Like you have always had support. I would say that there are like two major things that people didn't like. One of them was just the frustration with your gameplay, and then the other was, of course, some of the stuff like Vinny will talk to you about later in the season, and some of the stuff that Ashley brings up and that Rachel talks about with like the scoffing, which we'll get to, I'm sure, if you want to talk about it. But first,
yeah, that's just a habit.
Rachel wins the HOH, and this is an interesting week. Of course, Ashley really wants Riley to be the target. She sees the danger that Riley has at this point in the game. I am saying, like, I think Riley's becoming a front runner to win this game, because I think he was. If this shot hadn't landed, I equated it to like the vent on the Death Star. Like everything had to line up to like destroy this machine that was working, because Kelly was devoted to Riley. You were devoted to Riley. Catherine was devoted to Riley. Lauren was locked in with Riley and Catherine. Even Mickey was devoted to Riley and Catherine. And it was like, if this train starts moving, I don't think there's going to be a way to stop it, because on top of all of that, all of the best competitors are on that side, at least to that point.
I'm so embarrassed for these people that they were all so devoted to Riley. That was so frustrating. So having Rachel take him out was great. Because I'm like, Raleigh? They were like, we love him. I was like, huh? Riley, get out of here. Get Riley. Riley, Don, get out of here, Riley. Remember Kelly's like, I love Riley. We're going to be best friends. And he was like, I hate that bitch. Stupid bitch. She's like, he's such a stand-up guy. Meanwhile, Riley was another one talking mad shit. Not only the way he talked to Catherine, which was horrible, but he was gross. Oh, he went out on your birthday, Shine. What a beautiful birthday present. Yes, please hit that like if you haven't already. Like and subscribe. But the Riley love, I was like, what is going on? This guy clearly sucks. Like sucks.
No.
Oh, God. This season is crazy.
So, but the problem was that for Rachel, that like Mickey and Morgan had been targeting her so adamantly the week before. And so she had too many people to deal with. And so initially she tries to appease Riley and Catherine with the showman stuff. And Ashley's trying to be like, no, we have to bury the hatchet with Mickey and Morgan. We have to be targeting Riley. Doesn't listen to her at first. This is when Ashley says something that I didn't even catch at the time. She says, I've realized Vince is not powerful. I know everyone loves him, but he's not powerful. He will do anything Morgan tells him to do. So right now, that means that if we get Morgan, we get Vince. And that means that Riley is our biggest threat. Totally nailed it. It's ultimately, though, it has to be Mickey and Morgan on the block. And there's, a lot of stuff going on here with them. This is like, again, peak frenemies content with you and Rachel. It's like she's in power. She's the first HOH in the entire season to not even consider nominating you. And so like you've got this like budding relationship.
We gotta hear that again. Do you gotta hear that again, Keanu? She was the first HOH the entire season who didn't even consider nominating you. Rachel.
I feel so lost right now.
Please take that in. Please take that in.
I need you to get it together. Play Big Brother. Don't play telephone. Don't overgame.
That's what I was trying.
Okay, I mean, it's not that complicated. I have tried to tell you everything I've heard. I'm trying to work with you. You're my personal trainer. I like you. I'm trying to keep you in here for selfish reasons because I need to get in shape.
I feel like a deer in the headlights of love.
Please. Please, Keanu, take that information. Please. Because we had to watch this all summer. We were begging for you to see. Hello. Stop trusting these awful men who hate you.
Like, and we can tell too that like, despite everything, you seem to be the person Rachel enjoys hanging out with the most. Like you're hanging out and she's like, hey, don't leave yet. Like, like she's enjoying the dynamic. And it was very sad at the end of the week when the frenemies became more enemies than friends. But she's still at this point trying to warn you about Vince and Riley. You know, it's almost like there came a point in your relationship where you both kind of agreed to disagree, I would say. That like she's gonna stop. She's just like, listen, this is the truth, but I'm not gonna keep pushing it on you. And you're kind of like, I know you believe that to be the truth, but I know it's not true. And so
even though
it was. So Lauren wins this veto. This was actually very funny, at least from our perspective. You agreed with Rachel. You didn't want the veto to be used. You were hoping to get Mickey out. You know, Mickey or Morgan, and you don't want the veto to be used because you don't know what, you know, you don't want Kelly on the block. You certainly don't want Vince on the block. You don't know that Riley. You don't know that Riley's an option yet, but you don't even, you know, you agreed with Rachel. You don't want the veto to be used. You tell Lauren, watch out for listen to the people who are trying to push an agenda on you, and you know, pay attention to the people who are like, do what's best for your game, because those are people who really have your best interests. Then you go to Vince and you say, hey, I told Lauren this. If you tell her not, you know, you don't have an opinion, she should do what she wants to do for her game, she'll hear that. First thing Vince does, Keanu was just like telling me what to say to you about like how I should say that, you know, you should not look out for your like whatever. And Lauren is like, I thought that was weird. He was trying to set me up.
Wow. And I mean, and in reality, the only reason I even said that was because I firmly believed, and I still, if I'm not mistaken, I think we did have the votes to keep Vince in any scenario.
So Vince versus Morgan would have been interesting, assuming Mickey still wins the blockbuster. They would have had Ava's vote, but it really comes down to Mickey, I think. And we can assume that Mickey votes out. Hold on, let's look this. Let's look into
this. I can't remember exactly who was in the game and stuff, but
Vinny was in danger, I will say. He was definitely in some danger, considering the vote does actually flip on Riley. There's definitely a chance it flips on Vince as well. So there's 9 votes total. There would have been Ashley, Mickey, Ava, Will, and then on the other side, evicting Morgan would have been you, Riley, Catherine, Lauren. Who am I missing here? Kelly. Kelly votes to evict Morgan. Yeah.
Right.
So yeah,
that was where I thought we had the 5.
Yeah, he's probably.
So my whole argument was like, well, like Vinny, I know it's scary to be on the block come eviction night, but if you know it doesn't get used on you, we don't have to worry about anybody else on our side going up, and you have the numbers no matter what. Because
the fact that he's still like on our side, we're well into the game, and Vinny is not on your side. Mac, thank you so much for the super chat. Mac said the clips at the beginning were great. Loved it. Thank you. I appreciate you appreciating my little clips.
None of these people are going to flip. So that was why I was trying to get him to, but at the end of the day, like, I guess I should have been more understanding that people are not going to want to play chicken with their own games. So
yeah,
that was where I went wrong. Gave him the ammo to even use against me, which I can't even believe because I was just trying to help him out.
Yeah. So this is when there's a bunch of push for Lauren to not use the veto, for Lauren to use the veto. There's some fun Ashley stuff here where she's like trying to convince Lauren to use it, and then Rachel's complaining to Ashley about Lauren using it, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I think it's just what her gut's telling her." And you know you have to do though, right? Like the showmans. And so she does talk to you. Hey, if Lauren uses this, I might have to do Riley. And you were like, don't even talk about that, Rachel. And so oh man, the Lauren stuff that morning too was wild. That night was wild. She was talking to Morgan and Vince in the storage room, and Rachel came in and was like, "Hey, are you trying to pressure this girl?"
Oh, I remember that.
Mm-hmm. And then the morning of, Lauren goes to Rachel and she's
in my defense, real quick, the only reason I was so adamant about Rachel not putting Riley up also was because, remember, I thought for sure that Vinny was with like the final three. I thought that was because in my head, that's what I was loyal to 100%. So I thought he maybe thought the same way. I knew that he was close to Morgan, but I didn't think that he would go against our final three. And that's just my me being naive was, just because I didn't have anybody else doesn't mean other people don't have anybody else. And for me, that final three was all I had besides Rachel then at that point. And so that's what I stayed the most faithful to. So in my head, Riley, there was no way Riley could go home. So I was like, Rachel, why would you do that? There's no way that he goes home.
In your defense as well, that was I would say, majority perspective from the live feeders at the time. Also, not that it was like necessarily a bad move to make, but that like trying to get the numbers for Riley to go seemed impossible. Right. Not because of Vince, because at this point we knew who knows where Vince actually is, but because of Ava, because Ava loved Riley. And trying to get Ava to flip her vote was going to be a lot harder than expected, and she wouldn't have flipped her vote if it were Mickey on the block, because she was mad at Mickey at this point for running her HOH, and so we thought like there's no way, or not no way, but like the odds of Ava flipping and Vince flipping, and we also had Mickey. In the event that Mickey comes off the block, Mickey was talking about voting out Morgan over Riley because Mickey also loved Riley. We weren't even sure that Mickey was a guaranteed vote. So the chances that Mickey would A, win the blockbuster, and then B, all three of those votes would come together seemed impossible. And we were like, we appreciate the boldness, Rachel, but like, ooh, this is looking tricky.
Right. Yeah, like you said, the vent and the Death Star, like all the stars had to align. So
yeah. So in order to make this happen, this is when the judges are formed. But first I want to tell you about the Lauren thing because it's funny. Lauren tells Rachel the morning of like, I'm thinking I might use the veto. And Rachel, of course, is like, I don't think that's a good idea. I don't think you should do that. I might have to nominate one of your friends. And they're like getting ready because it's the morning. And Lauren's like, oh yeah. And it's like back and forth. And Lauren's really like nervous about it. At one point, Lauren's like, I have to grab some moisturizer. And Rachel's like, I've got some right here because they're up in the HOH. I got some right here. No, I'll just be right back. She runs downstairs. She runs into the room with Vince. She's like, she's telling me she's going to put up like one of my friends. And Vince is like, she's lying. She's bluffing. Don't listen to her. And she's like, I don't know, Vince, like, what do I do? Like, oh my God, she's coming. I think she's coming. And she like rushes out of the room. And then goes back upstairs for 5 minutes. She goes, okay. I think.
Oh my God, you're giving me PTSD from conversing with her and that, which is hilarious because like when we got to the jury house, totally different person. But anyway,
right? It's I don't want to give you too much PTSD, but like
I would follow up with that. What do you mean totally different person? What do you mean totally different? Sorry, what do you mean totally different person? When you get to the jury house, totally different person. What does that mean? What do you mean totally different? How so? How now? I would follow up with that. But this is where Taran's doing his Lauren impression and the screen. You guys know I loathed when she would just stare at the screen and have conversations with people. She couldn't make eye contact with them.
I don't know, Keanu.
Oh my God, stop. Stop.
The screen.
God.
Somebody
Staring at the
needed to
monitor.
turn that screen off in the room.
Staring at the monitor. Oh my God, there's so many times where I almost grabbed that thing and just like turn it off. I'm like, come on, speak to me, woman. Oh my God.
Oh man. Anyway, funny stuff. She ends up using the veto, of course. Rachel puts Riley on the block. You are very upset. You're very upset, and we talked about this at the time because obviously this was a pretty heated discussion. But like, given your perspective, it did feel like you were being pretty fair to her, from my perspective at least. Like to Rachel,
right.
in this sort of argument that you had with her after the fact, where it was like, we know that he's wrong. We know that Riley did have that conversation with Rachel. We know that Riley wasn't really messing with Keanu all that much. But given what Keanu believes and the fact that like he was barely consulted on this, and he doesn't think that this is going to go through, and we don't even think this might go through, like it's kind of understandable why he would be this upset and like be talking to Rachel in this way.
People seem to think that I was, and obviously I know how I can be when I'm like very passionate about what I'm speaking about. And so people seem to think that I was being like condescending, and maybe it came off that way. But yeah, I was just so like, what are you doing? He doesn't have the votes to go anyway. Why would you create this enemy? And at the time, you know, I was trying really hard. Like I understood the dynamic of Rachel and I's relationship. Outside of each other, we were working with people on the opposite sides of the house. So I was trying to kind of get her to like build a relationship with Vince, build a relationship with Riley, you know, and for her to do that completely undid all the work that I thought at least I was doing. So that's more why I was upset than anything, because I felt like I completely wasted a week of my time.
Yeah. And so, you know, I do think like, because you could tell, I felt like you could tell how much you were hurt by the decision, because you really did want to work with Rachel, and you really felt like this was such a dagger and such like an obstacle in the way of working with her. Like, how are you supposed to keep working together if she does this? Because if your perspective had been correct, this really would have been kind of like a wild move to make.
Yeah, if Riley had stayed, how am I supposed to keep working with Rachel?
And the thing that was that like she kept telling you like Riley said this, and you're like, listen, even if he did say that, listen, Rachel, people lie. People lie in this game. And it was just like, yes, Keanu, you're right, they do lie. In this case, to you.
I know, man. I know. See, the thing in my head was like, anytime someone told me about like, you know, Adrian talking about me, Kelly talking about me, Vinny talking about me, Riley talking about me, I understood in a roundabout way. I understood my social standing, right? So I knew that people were going to talk poorly about me to people that thought poorly about me. So I always thought that like, okay, they might have said that, but they only said that because they don't want to be targets themselves. So of course they're going to go with what you're saying. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, for sure. That's again one of those situations where I'd say like, it's an understandable thought process, but theoretically you should want to be in a situation where, you know, your allies aren't talking about it.
Right. Yeah. No, like now, like you said earlier, like this isn't what an alliance is supposed to be. And like I didn't know any better. So for me, I was just like, well, this is the position I'm playing and I'm really good at it. So screw it. This is what I'm doing.
And Keanu saying he didn't know any better. You didn't know that alliances, you shouldn't have people talking negatively about you if you're in an alliance with them? Is that just, you guys think, him not knowing enough about Big Brother or strategy games, even like Survivor, where when you have an alliance, you would probably prefer they not go talk shit about you? Oh boy, guys, that's a lot.
So Riley's on the block, and there's the judges are formed. This happens because Ashley sees this vision of because Vince will do everything Morgan said.
And I love that Taran gives Ashley her flowers in these situations, where I think still there's a lot of players and a lot of viewers that aren't. But Taran came with his, deep dive with Ashley with the receipts of all the strategic moves Ashley actually made. And he makes sure to mention this to Keanu, because Keanu, Zach, a lot of these people in the game just dismissed Ashley as just a dummy dum-dum. Zach literally said she was stupid. Meanwhile, he's sitting there with the whole power, not understanding his place in the game, and gets voted out pre-jury. Sir, look in the mirror.
If we are able to pull Morgan, then we get Vince as like a +1, which is phenomenal for us. We need his vote this week anyway. So let's make this like alliance and we'll work with Morgan. And once Riley's gone, Morgan will start winning HOHs. And that'll also be good for us. So her and Will sort of tag team. They go to Rachel, they go to Morgan, they bring them together, they pull in Vince, they form the judges, and they make sure to go to work on Ava. Now, of course, Vince isn't really with this alliance. This is full of people who he has not worked with and does not work well with. So there's not a lot of incentive for him to actually go in this direction. But there was quite a debate. Corey actually had the opinion that Vince should stick with the Riley side. He should send Morgan home, stick with Riley. I was in the opposite direction. I was saying, I feel, because to be fair, I didn't see the vision Ashley did at the time. I didn't realize that Vince would do everything Morgan said yet. I didn't realize that until later. So I was of the opinion that if Vince sided with Riley and took out Morgan, Morgan is an ally for him. And now he's stuck with, like, and maybe you'll tell me this is wrong, but I felt like when it came down to it, Riley had done you less dirty than Vince had. And that, like, you were more trusting of Riley at this point than you were of Vince. Not that you wouldn't work with Vince long term, but like you were still more loyal to Riley than Vince. Catherine was more loyal to Riley than Vince. Ava was more loyal to Riley than Vince. Mickey was more loyal to Riley than Vince. And it was just like, this is really dangerous for a player like Vince, especially considering that Riley is capable of winning competitions, as is Catherine. And the only person Vince actually has in that spot is Lauren, who ends up being in a better position than he is, almost, because she's closer to Riley and Catherine, who are the power structure at that point. So I think it was an interesting debate in terms of what should Vince do. Obviously, from your perspective, you really wanted him to stick with you guys.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it was a no-brainer. I was like, the whole time we were talking, you know, Vince was like, yeah, dude, I'm voting with you guys. I'm voting with you guys. I'm voting with you guys. And I was like, okay, cool. Took it as gospel. I was like, yeah, all right, cool. We're good.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, like, all he needed to do after this vote to take out Riley was, you know, he was in a little bit of danger from blowback, but he ends up winning that HOH. All he needed to do was, like, play his own game from there, and stick with Lauren, which is what he intended to do, I think. It's just that Morgan kind of got in the way. But I think if he had done that, I think he was still in a position to potentially win the game. The problem is, and again, we didn't know it at the time, that like his connection to Morgan was just too powerful and just really.
I think probably I started to see how strong his relationship with Morgan was at the same time as I think everybody else, which was when he wins the wall comp, and then it was I didn't know about the judges, so that made tons more sense once I found out that the judges was a thing. But yeah, from the inside of the house perspective, it was like, all right, Morgan was running everything he did. So how are you going to win when she can claim all your moves?
Nah, let me try and plug my phone in real quick. We've been here for a while, man. I'm actually really enjoying this, though, by the way. So thank you so much for doing this.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm enjoying it, too.
I do think it's sweet and it's cute how he's like, I'm actually really enjoying this, man. Like, thank you. The amount of times he like thanks Taran. Taran's like, I'm enjoying this, too. Like, I think these two are going to be buddies. I think these two are going to be the new odd couple. Okay, and maybe they'll go on. Keanu will do a returning season, and Taran will finally play Big Brother, and they'll team up and take over. They'll be the Dan in Memphis, you know. So I think he's being a great sport about it. You know, it's a lot to take in. At least he's there. Okay, I found the Jordan and Jeff. It's on Jeff and Jordan TV. A day ago, he did America's Favorite Interview with Keanu. So, they have their kids there. Oh, so it's going to be kid content? Either way, well, I'll take a look at it and see. Let me add it to my watch later. But yeah, I think that it's kind of sweet. You know, I like it. I like people that are willing to be like, all right, show me what I did. We're being a good sport. Now, there are times in this interview, and we'll see coming up, that Keanu's like, no. It seems like he's not, you know, taking all the information in, but it might take a little bit. We'll give him a little grace.
Wildly, Mickey won the blockbuster, and the tell that we knew how Vince was going to vote, at least, was that, so they had talked in the judges meeting about how Vince could maybe win your vote over, or at least do damage control with you. And so one of the things they were going to say was like, Rachel was like, well, you know about what Riley has been saying about Keanu. You can tell him that. And so he was like, yeah, maybe. And so when we saw him after the blockbuster go to you and start telling you about what Riley has said about you, it was like, oh my God, he's actually voting out Riley. Like, he's doing the thing with Keanu. And so they decided last minute, they went in that direction. Mickey does vote that way. And then Ava's in the diary room casting the vote. And I swear to you, she starts to mouth the word Morgan, stops herself, pauses, and says Riley.
My God.
It was a wild ride. I lost my mind. And just like that, Riley was evicted. And you guys went up on the wall.
Wow. That's crazy to know that all that like just happened last second like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things like
Again, Keanu's like, wow, it's crazy to know that happened in a game I was totally playing. This dude had no idea. He really, when he says it was like the Truman Show for him, it really was. His reality was completely different from everyone else's reality in this game. He was like an alien. But God, did we love when Riley was blindsided. Oh, and the way Julie Chen, as much as I think, Julie Chen hasn't been the same since she became Julie Chen Moonves, when she did the little sneakaroo to make it seem like she was going to say Morgan, and then she said Riley, and he was like, oh God, another applause. That was so good. I loved it. Seriously, thank you so much.
Even though Rachel kind of like didn't manage to flip the vote in any meaningful way when Jimmy was on the block, it's like those moments where there's some uncertainty, like, hey, you never know. Just managing to push in a certain direction can be so potentially effective. But it's very situational, of course.
Now, let me ask you a question. What do you think the ramifications would have been had she missed that shot?
I think Riley wins the wall. I don't know. Okay. I think Riley versus Vince on the wall. Vince looked very good.
Yeah, I would say that it was like built for him because like the position that he used with his arms under like that was like perfect for his height.
He got to trade arms, which is just like
it was perfect for his Polly Pocket. Perfect.
So effective because he can be resting one arm while he uses the other. That competition is so height dependent, typically.
Awesome. And speak of the devil and he shall appear. Vinny literally just texted me. That's hilarious.
There you go. It's
what do you say? Has he texted Morgan? Why'd he take all Kelsey's pictures down to Instagram? We have questions, Keanu. And since he's in hiding, allegedly, but maybe allegedly using a PR firm to call the paparazzi on himself and also to spam comment sections with pro-Vince bots, allegedly. Obviously, everything I say is true except for the parts that are false. Everything is alleged and for entertainment purposes only.
Allegedly.
Tell us more. Tell us more, sir. Is he talking to Morgan now? What's going on? Because he's got time to text Keanu about what? And the fact that Keanu still he's like, I think we're going to be friends. Dude talked, I know it's within the game, but he talked mad shit about you. He called you a swamp ass. Like but okay. Okay. Keanu still wants to be friends with him. Good luck. Good luck, sir.
Basically, it's so dependent on like where they put the things. And so sometimes they don't put a thing above you. Sometimes it's just below you.
I've never seen that before.
Yeah. And so, it's so dependent on how it goes.
It's the six of us, and I was like, yo, we can literally come together right now and just run the rest of this game.
You were completely right. Yeah. And fans hate it when that happens. But it is an exploitable part of the game.
I was telling Vince the same thing about Morgan. I was like, hey, are you going to be okay getting rid of her when you need to? And he was telling me that, yeah, he would. And I was like, all right, cool. Well, that's all I need to hear. And yeah, I believe that through and through.
Yeah. So Vince wants to target Mickey. You have like a dramatic change of heart, seemingly. So from our perspective, watching the feeds, this was like you were trying to target Rachel, and the reason felt simple. It was that Rachel essentially turned her back on you. Again, if your information is correct, right, then she nominated Riley, and she's now not somebody that you can trust to keep around. And if you believe that you have enough people that have your back anyway, it makes sense to try to take down like one of the bigger threats on the other side.
Right.
The episodes portray this more so like you have this conversation with Catherine and Lauren where they are like essentially trying to like plant this idea in your head of like, hey, if Rachel makes it to the final two, we're going to vote for her. And you kind of go like, wow, well, if I can't beat Rachel in the final two, then I've got to target her. I can't work with her. And so I guess the question is like, how much of that was the reason why you were trying to target her?
It was most definitely the former. But speaking with Catherine and Lauren and them telling me that just kind of reinforced it that like, okay, well, if she's not with me and I can't beat her in the final anyway, might as well get rid of her now.
Yeah.
And I really thought at that time, because when we made our final two, the frenemies, we had agreed to consult with each other and on all the moves that we made. And obviously she didn't do that with me. And, at the time, obviously I very firmly believed that Riley was with me. So for her to do that to me, I thought was like a huge slap in the face, especially after I just finished, telling her like, all right, let's do this. We're ride or die, but like, let's try to, work together the best we can. And for her to not consult with me at all made me feel like, okay, well, that was probably fake, and confirmed to me that that she was kind of like a liar and would only do what's best for her, right? Which obviously in the game, you're entitled to do what's best for you. But it really hurt me in the time because she's told me that she would consult with me,
I almost forgot about this as well, because there was some drama after the Riley nomination about how Rachel was saying, I told Lauren this was what I was going to do. And Lauren's saying, no, she didn't. She did. She told Lauren straight up, I'm going to nominate Riley if you do this.
Oh, really? Wow.
And Lauren actively lied about it. She actually came clean to Catherine and Riley about it before Riley left. And, they were like, whatever, I guess. But she lied to you about it, which was, one of her few lies in the house.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's unfortunate.
Yeah. So the target is Mickey. You want him to put up Ashley and or Rachel, in the sort of grand scheme of getting Rachel on the block. And this is where not to talk too much about like why Vinny lost necessarily, but like it's super relevant to you because this is one of the first times where it really feels like, up until this point, he's been lying to you, and then turning around and doing something else. But there was always some kind of like, well, he really was considering keeping Adrian. He really was considering keeping Riley. There's a reason to lie to you and pretend to you for various things to keep you on side. This is when it was like, why is he lying to Keanu about who he intends to nominate? Like right before he does it. Like, why is he never planned to put up Ashley or Rachel. He just was like telling you that he was going to, and up until shortly before the ceremony when he started to be like, maybe I won't. And it's like, why is he? And this seems to really continue throughout the weeks, specifically, often with you, like when he was the HOH at the final five. And he's telling you he is going to nominate Morgan. And as soon as you leave the room, he's like, I'm not nominating Morgan. And it's just like, what's the purpose? You're in control of
That's more of how Vinny's game. It's like he had all these people wanting to follow him like a cult leader, but where he failed and where he was not good at this game is the unnecessary lying and the leaving people feeling like that just, again, wasn't necessary. Why do all that? But Vince just, it's like he's allergic to the truth. It was crazy. So much unnecessary lying. Such a lack of jury management that I would feel as a jury member, it'd be really difficult to vote for someone like that. Because in a social strategy game, like that is just really shitty strategy. God, Vince.
situation. You don't need to lie about it anymore.
Yeah, that was I never understood why he wouldn't just kind of be honest with me. So yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, I'm gonna be honest. I was just me, like I said, being naive. Like I just kind of always operated under the, hey man, I trust you're gonna do the right thing for both of us. So do what you gotta do.
Mm-hmm. So Morgan puts in a lot of work here. In particular, she really pushes the judges thing with Vince. This is one of the primary reasons for her to use on him to prevent him from targeting Rachel. Hey, we're the judges. We're an alliance. If you turn on the judges, you'll lose all their jury votes. Was this an argument he should have listened to? I don't think so. But of course, it kind of works. the veto competition happens. I think this is when you say this.
This is so dumb.
I said that quite a few times, so I'm not sure exactly when.
Yeah. This is a fun veto comp. I like this one. The poisoned...
The Night to Remember, I think it was.
Yeah, I think that's what it's called. Yeah.
The poison one.
Yeah. It was like you versus Rachel trying to like get the last word in.
Yeah, he got mad at me for talking to him at night.
Oh yeah, he was very upset.
Oh, why? What the heck?
He went on a whole rant about how you got in bed with him and like he's trying to sleep and yeah.
Oh God! Wow. Well, I had seen Mickey leave the room, so I was like, "Oh, he must still be awake."
Mm-hmm. Well,
wow.
So that's when Taran, we're kind of skipping around a little bit because I'm getting a little bit like, okay, well, I gotta move this along. When that's epic time when Keanu went up and laid in bed with Vince, and when he left, Vince talked mad shit about him. And like his swamp ass, and was just disgusted that Keanu would come in his bed. And Keanu's like, "Whoa, what? He got mad at me for going to talking to him? Everyone else talking. I can't talk to him. Yeah, he was mad disrespectful to you, dude. He did not like you. He was a snake." Well, I like that. And then, but soon you'll see Taran go, "Well, I mean, I don't want you guys to have any bad feelings about each other." Like, don't worry about it. Don't worry about that. Those are things that happened. You're just telling him what happened. He has the right to know that this dude, that was one of my favorite parts of this interview. I gotta see that part again.
What week was this?
This was Vinny's HOH week the next time, when after he nominated Lauren, and it was you, Lauren, and Kelly.
Oh, we skipped forward a little bit.
Sorry, you just reminded me of the argument, so I skipped forward.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. Yeah, but you know what? But Ashley didn't realize what I don't understand what was so confusing to her, because Kelly was like, Kelly's thought process was like, let me try and get Vince another mark so that he doesn't win. And I was like, Kelly, if Vince wins and keeps nominations the same, that's better than Mickey winning. But it was like, by her choosing Vince when she could have chosen Mickey first, it felt like she was trying to get me to do her bidding. And I was like, that's not why I'm here. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm not going to do your dirty work for you. You know what I mean? And it just felt very kind of like grimy to me. Like she wanted me to basically take the blow and save her at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And like, obviously Mickey was not necessarily my biggest fan, but we also kind of like didn't really have like public beef anymore. So like by me going for Mickey when I didn't have to, it was kind of like me yelling that out loud, like, hey, we're not as good as you think we are. You know what I mean? So I was trying to prevent that. And I just told Will when I went to the side, I'm sure they didn't show this, but I was like, hey man, nothing personal against you, but I don't want anyone to feel like I'm coming against them specifically.
Well, that's what made the competition so interesting, is that like it did have that element of like, you know, interpersonal sort of, I'm targeting this person if I choose them. And then of course, so if I'm remembering correctly, because I don't actually have notes on the episodes themselves, but you tried to, Vince is choosing between Mickey and you were like, pick me, right?
Oh yeah. Because I didn't want him to, because I think Kelly was next anyway, and she could choose Mickey.
Mm-hmm. And he got so mad that he was like, because he was going to Mickey, and then he was like, well, now that Keanu's saying pick him, now I'd look like a jerk if I picked Mickey anyway. And so he was like, so now I have to pick Keanu. It was a whole mess. But Mickey ends up winning the veto, and there's all kinds of Winegate happens. I don't know how involved you were in that, but
that was
yeah, because Kelly cried to you about it afterward.
Yeah, that was so dumb, bro. Oh my god.
Yeah, it's
this is so dumb.
Yep. I said that so many times throughout the season. I honestly couldn't even pinpoint where that soundbite came from.
Yeah. So Morgan and Ashley both push hard on Vince to not put Rachel up. And Morgan puts a lot of work in. They get Will involved. Lauren has this moment, because Lauren and you ultimately have a lot in common, in the sense that, like, you know, you put way too much trust in Vince. You know, it's like her birthday, and Vince is telling her, yeah, I think I'm going to put up Catherine, and she cries to him. Like this is, I'm so grateful to be here, and I'm so lucky, but this has been an awful experience. My game is being destroyed. And he was like, your game? Think about my game. And she was just like so annoyed. And they at that point they were like, man, we really should have evicted Ashley over Adrian. It's like, yeah. And when he puts up, and so then there's this whole drama in the morning. You had talked with him late at night. He got so mad about that. And then the next morning, it was like you versus Rachel trying to like get the last word in.
He got mad at me for talking to him at night.
Oh yeah, he was very upset.
Oh, why? What the heck?
He went on a whole rant about how you got in bed with him and like he's trying to sleep and yeah.
Oh God, wow. Well, I had seen Mickey leave the room, so I was like, oh, he must still be awake.
Mm-hmm. Well, wow. I think because and let me like this is like stuff in the game, you know, and like people say things and you know, we're talking about game stuff. I don't want to like bring stuff up that's like hurtful or make you feel bad in any way. But they like Mickey had been pushing for Catherine to go up as well, and he was complaining to Mickey about how you were pushing Rachel. And so they were up there like, can we wait him out like before so he doesn't get up here? And she was trying to like sneak out so that you wouldn't notice, and then he could go to bed. But then you got in there anyway, and he was just like really annoyed.
What was the point?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
What I will say is like that was the right move for you. Like you should be like, that is what a lot of people this season failed to do. It's what Morgan had, it's what Ashley had, and it's what you had. You, all three of you were pushers. Like you would get in there and you would make your case. And you know, unfortunately for you, you were never in the position for it to like land super well.
Right.
But so many people in that game, Vince and Zach and some others included, like just kind of let things happen. And that's, I don't think that's the way to play. And you know, the bottom line is, you know, it was close. It was looking like he might put Rachel up for a moment there. Although I will tell you at this point in time,
I feel like that's a good point, Dossier. If only Messy Rob was there. Adding Rob in situations where it's got to be a little messy, I think would be very helpful because he wouldn't shy away from that. That's not Taran style. This is where we need Rob. He could just be, you know, backstage popping in at points like these where we need a little bit of the messiness. That would actually be awesome. Okay, I'm going to fast forward just a little, see where we're at here.
There was all this drama about, so what happened was you were trying to get Rachel on the block. Vince told Rachel that you were trying to get her on the block. She went to you and said, hey, I'm being told you're trying to get me on the block. You denied it, went back to Vince and said, how does Rachel know I'm trying to get her on the block? And Vince was like, and Vince denies it. And then Vince then went back to Rachel to be like, why is Keanu telling me that you're telling him that I'm trying to get him on the block? And inadvertently, that was the furthest you got in getting Vince to nominate Rachel, because he was then like, Rachel's ratting me out to Keanu. And so again, lots of back and forth there, but ultimately Catherine goes up on the block and you are very upset about this. And you have what was a very serious conversation, I think, for you, but was a very funny conversation for many people watching. Your competence, what was it? Confidence is built with competence.
Yeah, I mean, well, he told me, he was like, man, all I want from this game is to have confidence. And what he always told me was that he struggles to be confident because he can't ever really do what he says he's going to do. So, you know, from my perspective, he said he wanted to do something, and he told me that he feels like he's being strong-armed to do something else. So I was like, dude, if you want confidence, it's this simple. Like, just do what you say you're going to do.
God.
Was essentially
Vince played him so bad. Oh, see, confidence, man. God.
I don't have any votes now.
And Keanu's like, I was just helping him. That was so, watching that was like, stop, Keanu. You want, come on, man. Vince was doing exactly what he wanted to do. He was never loyal to you. You were always just a number to him, easily disposable. You're like, come on, man. Confidence equals competence. Competence equals confidence. And COVID-19. No, hold on. Okay. Confidence equals cough syrup. You know what I'm saying, man. And Vince is like, yeah, I'm just like a little bitch. I'm just a bitch. And also, like, what an insult to one of his brothers. Now that I think about it, when Keanu was like, he reminds me of one of my brothers. You have a brother who's like a little titty baby like him?
Sorry, I'm such a fucking bitch, man. Maybe I fucking suck at this game then.
First of all, you wish you were strong enough to be a bitch, Vinny. It's so much worse. It's so much worse. So justice for Keanu'S brother, who I'm sure does not want to be compared to Vinny. Does anybody? Come on now. But the fact that Keanu said, yeah, I'm going to build up his confidence. Oh, God. He played him. He played you.
You know, you want to build confidence with yourself. Do what you say you're going to do. Then you feel confident. And then as a result, you feel confident. But, you know, that was me trying to motivate him to, you know, feel comfortable in making the decisions he wants to make. But little did I know the decision he actually wanted to make, he just wasn't forthcoming about, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, again, this is a spot where I really think he should have turned on Rachel. I really do think that, like, I mean, honestly, targeting Rachel would have been better for his game than yours, because she was still trying to work with you up until that point. But he backed off of it, and I think this was like really the start of when he started like losing the game, because this really was the move to make for him. After taking down Riley, you take out Rachel on the other side. You still have Morgan. You still have Lauren. He still has you. Now he becomes the center of everything. But he was just worried that she was going to, I think, win the blockbuster or, you know, whatever. And so he backs off of the move. And you're telling him the right things, you know, like if we've learned anything from Rachel, it's that you have to take the shot when you have it. Like, you know, all of these things. It was all correct stuff.
Yeah. Well, damn.
That was the thing where it was like, I kept finding myself being like, Keanu keeps like saying the right strategic thing to the people who are not doing the correct strategic thing, but they don't listen to Keanu because Keanu doesn't have the right reads on anything. So
yeah, I feel, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like a lot of my incorrect reads were because, like I said, I was like in the Truman Show.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, like, I think that yeah, I'm thinking through.
Had my reality been actual reality, do you think my reads would have been more correct?
Well, it's hard to say. Like in terms of reads, like your read on the house was always pretty decent. You read on like the strategic structure of the game and how it should be, in order to like put you in a successful position, was one of the better reads of the house. Like, you were correct. You should all get all the competition threats together. You can just steamroll. If you like, you don't have to be worried about the other side being mad at you if you're the ones in power, because they'll be running to you. That's all. Like,
this was a lot of work for Taran. This was a lot of work. Wow, it's a lot of work.
Good stuff that like a lot of players don't always recognize. When it came to like two people are telling you a different story, it just felt like I would not say that I would trust you to tell me which person's telling you the truth if my life depended on it. But here's the thing. So this kind of plays into some of the stuff that was talked about, is that like one of the more accurate ways that people felt like they could predict who you would believe in any given scenario was that, you know, you tended to believe the men in the house more so than the women.
Yeah,
and
I've heard that before. I was like, come on, guys.
so
initially, I heard that before. Come on, guys. Let's just visit it. Let's just let it ruminate. Let's think about a little bit. Everything we talked about earlier before you go, okay, guys, seriously, really? You literally let Vince like disrespect you. Kept forgiving him, trusting him when he showed you, put you up. Rachel didn't. The only one, like Taran said, who never had any intention of putting you up. You're like, come on, guys. Come on, it's ridiculous. Keanu. Let's just visit. Let's just be open-minded. That we all carry biases. That we all have to keep progressing. Let's just come on. Let's see. Come on, Keanu. Let's open our minds. Free your mind, and the rest will follow. In the words of the great In Vogue. Okay.
I'm sure part of that is that you were aligned with the men, but it did seem to extend beyond that sometimes, where it was like even people like Zay and Zach and people that you weren't as aligned with, versus, you know, some of the accurate information you were being given by some of the other women later on, like people like Ashley. And it was sort of like, if we want to predict where Keanu will go, it's, you know, like where are the guys? It's like, that's probably where he'll end.
But I think a lot of that stemmed from like, I feel like people are like, oh my God, he's a misogynist. I was like, guys, maybe in the game itself, I could be perceived that way, because from the very beginning of the game, it was, like I said earlier, Jimmy and the girls versus Kelly and the guys. So, you know, and I would have the tendency to believe the guys because they weren't the ones that I thought were coming after me at the beginning. So that is where I built my base onward. And so, not that I ever felt like all the girls were lying to me. I would have trusted Kelly, you know, unconditionally. I loved Kelly. Kelly was one of my strongest allies, I felt like, at least from my perspective, throughout the entire game. But she was in the same position I was. Nobody told her shit. So it was like, or at least I didn't think they did.
Yet you could see the faults in Kelly, but not in Vince. You were far more forgiving of Vince. Sir, it's just the patriarchy. It's just conditioning. We just got to get out of it. We just have to wake up. We just got to see it and move on, move forward, recognize it, make changes. Everyone does better for it. Oh, Lordy.
What the hell? And she never really offered me too much information either because I didn't think she got really much more information, if any, more than I did.
Yeah, and
Lauren the same way. I felt the same way about Lauren. I trusted Lauren as well, but you know, she never really spoke to me either, and I never really saw her speaking to anybody too much outside of Vince. And I thought I was getting the same information out of Vince that she was getting. So
it's a tricky thing because even talking about it kind of like evokes very extreme reactions, and so like there was this sort of back and forth about like it seems like there might be a bias toward some of the men, and then a sort of response to that of like, what do you mean that's ridiculous? You can't say that he's like a misogynist. And I can tell you, at least from like the perspective that I have, like when we talked about it on the podcast at different times, we did try to make it clear that we don't think, and I don't think that you are like any kind of like misogynist or that you like harbor any ill will toward women or anything like that. But what I find interesting about the show is that, and this doesn't have to be true for you, but like, especially the ways in which people choose their allies at the start, the people that you initially gravitate toward, the people that you tend to believe a little bit more, they tend to be the people that you relate to more. And we see that play out all the time on the show. And so those initial bonds that you gravitate toward then hold like more weight than other people. Mm-hmm. And these tiny little things that are not malicious, that are, you know, are not meant in any way to be sort of like an attack on anybody, can kind of start to snowball out into things that end up having bigger ramifications in terms of like your position in the game or who you believe or whatever. And so, you know, listen, you know, you can call me woke or whatever, but like, I find this stuff really interesting. And I love the ability to talk about
woke. Taran mentions this. Just own it. Who cares, Taran? Who cares if people call you woke? Take it back. Don't cower to these people that think woke is a bad thing, that you being awake and wanting progress is bad. Fuck that. Call it out. All right? Be an ally. We need men to check other men in this situation to help them understand, because clearly women saying it, we've been saying it for fucking ever, and it's not getting through. So we need men to be like, you know what, bud? Let me pull you aside here. Gonna have a little talk. And I think it will be better received. So who cares? Who cares if they call you woke? Rather that than your head buried in the sand in a cult with no critical thinking skills.
About it without
woke, Taran.
Having to be like, this means that you're a bad person, or this means that like we're attacking anybody. I think that like being open and recognizing these things has a lot of value, and whether it's in yourself or in other people. And again, I'm not saying it's true for you because you have your own experience and I can't tell you what your experience is. But I think it's a valuable conversation to have.
No, most definitely. I would say that I don't disagree with people when I say that was built in that world. Like from the very beginning, I was set up to not feel that way. So like I'm not misogynistic in my everyday life, you know, but in this particular, you know, scenario in this world, you know, my perspective from the very beginning was like Jimmy and the girls versus Kelly and the guys. So I was already like set up in that way of thinking, and that was very hard for me to break through. I would say the only person in pockets that I ever trusted that was ever on the Jimmy and the girls side was Rachel. And even then, it took a long time for me to get there because it took me putting her on the block, then me asking her if we're good before I even won HOH, and winning HOH and not putting her up to feel like, okay, we can ride out into the sunset. We're good now. And then she got eliminated.
Yeah. It was something that just, we're jumping ahead a little bit here, but it's relevant to this conversation, that like, you know, players like Mickey and even Rachel at one point, Ashley, some of the other women in the house did talk about this in the house as well, that they felt like that you were not as respectful in talking with women as you were with some of the men. And again, it's sort of like, I think that it all is, I personally, not knowing you that well, not being in your head, it never seemed malicious to me. And it really did seem to stem from the positioning you were in you had in the game, which again may have started with a little bit of that sort of like you gravitated toward, the bros, the people that you can relate to more. But then through sort of some of this, like, I would say confident communication style, could certainly really rub some people the wrong way in those moments. And we're not here to try to solve sexism
Yeah,
or
no,
anything
I know.
like that.
You know what's funny is, and Morgan and Mickey will tell.
Why not? Can you try? Can you guys try? Because we're tired. The women are tired. Our tits are tired. That's why they sag, because we're tired. We carry all the weight of the world and misogyny and sexism and the patriarchy in our tots. Can you try? I love how they're just like, I give them so much credit for this conversation and stuff, but they're like, oh, but two dudes like, I can't solve sexism. Maybe you could try. But I do think Taran does good work. I think he does season after season call out things. And I think that's important. It's important that men call this shit out. So thanks for that, because our tits are tired. They're tired. The confident communication style. Oh, Keanu, just think about it. Just be open to it, Keanu. That's all I'm asking. Just think about it, sir. Just think about it.
And at times condescending,
Right.
for people in the house, as they expressed. And so, again, I don't think that you. Again, this is my own judgment. I can't speak for anybody. I never felt like you meant for it to be. I feel like you had these ideas of what was happening in your head, and you were trying to get those ideas across to people that were not listening to you.
Right.
And so it really expresses itself in a strong way because of that. And I think that maybe some of your mannerisms don't help.
We never have those on Big Brother.
Again, that was my own interpretation of it.
Yeah, no, I would say that's correct. So yeah, that's what I was talking about earlier. At least when we were talking about how I would speak to Vinny, it was like I would just get so frustrated, and to an extent, Rachel too. I'm not sure who else felt that way. You said Ashley and Mickey, but I definitely know I spoke to Rachel that way. But I felt really comfortable with Rachel and Vinny to be able to express myself fully. And Rachel did let me know a couple times there that she thought that I was talking down to her, and I even told her I was like, oh well, if you feel that way, then I apologize, because I didn't mean to talk down to you, and I fully recognized that I was like, I know how I can be when I'm like passionate about what I'm speaking about and what I'm saying is not coming across. So I could definitely see that.
Yeah, and I think, again, especially given that I'm not the person that is primarily impacted by this sort of thing, but like my own personal stance on it is that when I see somebody that is willing to talk about these things and willing to take in criticism and be like, wow, if that's how other people feel about what I'm doing, then maybe I should think about what I'm doing, and maybe I should try to operate in a way that doesn't elicit that kind of response.
Yeah.
I think that's really the sign of somebody who's willing to sort of like educate themselves, for lack of better phrasing. Because at the end of the day, everybody has biases. Everybody has their own flaws, idiosyncrasies, and especially if you've never been on TV before, with every single one of them being exposed to an audience of hundreds of thousands of live feeders, you've never really probably had a chance to recognize them or examine them in any significant way. And
yeah, there's actually a really good book that I've read called Psycho Cybernetics, I think it's called.
Oh, yeah?
That talks about that. So maybe I'll give that a reread.
There you go. So yeah, I mean, again, speaking for myself only, it's a desire to learn and be better. That is the true quality that I look for in people, because everyone's going to make mistakes. We exist in a society and a culture that is all kinds of messed up, and it influences everything we do. It infects every part of our being. And it's the people that really care about trying to better themselves and learn that I think are the people that I'm going to trust the most in my own interactions and with interactions with other people. So in that regard, like, I personally really appreciate that you're even having this conversation with me.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Thank you for having it with me. Everyone was saying, hey, come on his podcast, and if you really want to get better and stuff like that, and to even be having like this actual conversation within the whole becoming better at the game conversation. I'm super grateful. So thank you.
Cool. All right. Well, let's get back to the game then. I guess the one thing more related to the game about this, something that I noticed that you would do in terms of some of the arguments that you'd make, is you tended to gravitate toward an argument of it doesn't make sense for X person to do Y. I should X and Y, bad modifiers here. Like for instance, when you were talking about nominating Ashley, and it is this week, you know, Kelly wins the blockbuster, Catherine's evicted. And you win the next HOH. Ultimately, your goal is to take out Morgan. We know that doesn't happen. You have to renom Ashley. Your idea at the time was, well, I can nominate Ashley. She can't come for me because it doesn't make any sense for her. It doesn't make sense for her to target me. I don't know how much you really believed these arguments. This is like an example of the kind of argument that you would make where it's like, I can do this. She can't retaliate. It doesn't make any sense for her game. Therefore, she can't, and therefore she won't. How much did you believe that? How much of that was you trying to like plant that idea in her head, I guess is a question.
I thought that that was true because I felt at the time that Rachel was obviously her strongest ally.
Yep.
And if Rachel and I were to make up, that Rachel wouldn't want her to come after me anyway. Because a lot of people, I felt like at that time, I felt like a lot of people still wanted Ashley out of the game. Like she had annoyed quite a few people, obviously with the whole Judges Alliance. That I obviously know that's not true now. I think maybe the only people that would have wanted her out, and even then I didn't necessarily want her out because of my relationship with Rachel. But the only people that would have wanted her out of the game at that point was probably.
Oh my God, Alex says the book was Cybernetics Technotronics. Well done. Well done. Well
It's
done.
inappropriate.
Okay. The Technotronics will never get old. I think what Taran's doing here, though, is like true allyship for like women in just kind of what Dreadful Ruby was saying here. Taran was throwing him a bone, you know, so despite it being gentle, I feel like it was still direct enough. Like, dude, stop shutting it down. If all these people are saying this and seeing this, maybe take a look at it. Think about the perspective for a second. You know, and this is what it really is, rather than going, yeah, right, bitches be cray. You know, Taran was like, he stood on business in a way that was professional, you know, and a way that Keanu could hear that. Now, will he receive it? I don't know. It would be good for him, I think, in my opinion, in the long run, to receive that information and take a look at it. But I am glad when I see men out there who are willing to call each other out, hold each other accountable. You know, I think that's nice. You did a good job, Tear Bear. We're proud of you. Because it's hard. You know, Rob as a podcast has a very big, they got a big audience. It's like triple the size of mine. And they got a lot of people who like to use, you know, woke as a negative thing and all that. So be in the comments like, oh, I'm done with this channel. Where me, I don't give a shit. If you're like, Jolene, I'm done. Okay, bye. Like what? But, you know, it's not technically his channel. You know, so I think he's but he's saying the things. He's saying the things that need to be said. Yeah. Tyranny made it a safe space, safe enough for Keanu. And I do think men need to be talking to other men about this. Because they don't listen to us about it. They don't. I mean, hundreds of years, centuries have proved that they don't listen to us. They see the tits and like, no, we're not listening to that. Oh, no, you're banned? What happened, Fresh Show? What happened? Yeah, I think they do a good job over there. Calling stuff out. I'm glad. I love to see it. I love to see it. Thank you. I thank the penises who call things out and don't just go, the misogyny is bullshit, it's misandry, it's really women. It's like, oh God, please stop. Please stop. Please. Alex said, did you say you love Keanu over there? What did you say? What did you say? Okay, I don't know how much more of this. Let's see. Let me just gonna skip ahead a little bit, you guys, because we gotta wrap it up. I'm hungry. All right, my tits are hungry. All right, let's go.
That conversation where you say you can't put Lauren up because you're not going to put an ally up, and she goes, "Oh, I didn't realize Lauren was an ally." And you're like, "Well, she's not an ally. She's just somebody that wouldn't put me up." And she's like, "I don't know about that." And you're like, "Listen," she's like, "Oh, if you think she won't put you up, that's all right, Keanu." And to be fair to you, I don't think Lauren intended to put you up immediately necessarily.
Yeah, well,
but
I don't think, I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think that Lauren would have put me up if Rachel didn't go home to the hamster wheel.
Oh, she was planning to target Rachel first. She had a whole speech plan.
So that was my whole point, because I told Rachel too, I was like, is she going to put me up? Yes, at some point, but I don't think she's going to do it anytime soon. I didn't realize I was like her third target.
Basically, I think order of operations would have been Rachel, Morgan, you.
Right.
For Lauren.
That's what I had thought as well. I even told, I believe I told her that too. I was like, hey, listen, from here on out, there's only, 4 or 5 more evictions. You got to get one of us big competitors out.
Of course, you get nominated, you win the blockbuster. Vince wins the next HOH. This is a lot of drama that doesn't involve you all that much. But
the whole putting up Lauren thing. Oh my god!
A lot of Morgan and Ashley and Morgan convincing Vince to put up Lauren. He has an incredibly funny conversation with Lauren right before nominations, where he's like begging her to allow him to put her on the block. Please, 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 please. I'll say please 100 times. Please, please, please. Let's just do it. Let's just do it. Come on, let's do it. Let's do it, Lauren. Let's do it.
No,
and she's just like, no.
Oh my god.
And so he ultimately doesn't do it, which of course makes Morgan mad. And then Morgan wins the veto, and there's more conversations, and there's all kinds of back and forth, and of course you're involved. This is also where like there's all of this talk of like, one of the reasons why Vince is trying to justify putting you on the block is the what was it, Cheater Island or whatever.
Oh yeah.
I was like, Vince, if you use this, because it wasn't the real reason he put you up. It was a pretend reason to make it seem like he wasn't against you strategically, that he was just hurt that you said this comment. I was like, you're creating a reason that is going to be used in the episodes, dude. Like pick something else, man. Like this wouldn't make the episodes if you didn't use it. But you do you. So he is, again, just all kinds of, before she let go, and then the ball went straight down. It's interesting. So this comes down to you and Vince. And this is really like, because the stacking comp is one thing, the final 5 veto is technically the last chance you had to save yourself, but this was your comp, right? Like this was really the moment. And it came down to you and Vince.
So overall, like, I think we got through a lot of it, but again, if you haven't watched the whole thing without my interruptions and without me skipping around, go check out Taran's deep dive with Keanu. I thought it was fascinating. I was waiting to hear from Keanu. I'm interested to hear from him maybe after some of this stuff sinks in and see if it does or not. But I thought it was good. Now, speaking of, some of you were talking about, will Morgan do this? I hope Morgan does it. I really do. I don't know if she's in a place to do that, because she's still, I got a little bit from her Twitch, and then we'll wrap it up here, where she's talking about her gameplay and relationship with Lauren. And I think she's still very much believing what she wants to believe, and isn't ready to watch episodes, watch feeds, even though she seems like she's watched a few clips and things. But she might just right now want to be in her little area, her little group where she feels comfortable, as she kind of, makes her way mentally back into the world.
Keanu clocked that Vince and I were working really well together, and I had influence in his decisions.
So we'll just listen to a little bit of it.
He did say that he thinks that I have a lot of influence with Vince, which is why getting Lauren up in the block, Keanu really leaned into me. And I was like, oh, this is so great. Like, I could just, like, it was so fun to see Keanu, like, really lean into me and be able to, like, trust in my decisions, even though knowing, like, oh my God, Tyrell, thank you so much for the 5 gifted. So, that's that. But I do think that Keanu just wanted to be in my position because he wanted to influence Vince. However, I do feel like the way I studied Vince as a player and how I learned how to speak to him to get, like, through to him and help him understand.
It's just so culty. Oh my God.
Huh?
I mean, she's not wrong. They both wanted Vince. But she's like, he wanted my position. I'm like, oh, God.
Understand certain things. He's like, I respect
Morgan, you have to go on. You have to do your deep dive, girl. Please. For the love. Please.
It's like, I cared about him as a person. And I feel like other players may have not felt that way. And I think that's why Vince leaned onto me instead of others. Because like, at the end of the day, I would always tell him like, look, you can put up Rachel if you want, but she has the votes. So like, you need to be careful. I would kind of put in this tactic of like, look, you can make this decision, but this is what's going to happen. Whereas if you do this, this is going to be more beneficial. So that's kind of how I would have those conversations with him. So yeah, so that's the thing is like, I don't think she stood over the button for 31 seconds. Like, sure, maybe like a certain amount of seconds, that's fine. So I think it's hard too, because you guys also have to remember like,
Morgan doesn't want to believe that Lauren threw the veto. And Taran's going to tell her that she did, and she stood over the button and she 100% threw the veto. Because I think Morgan thinks it's a slight to her to admit that. I think then it is like a blemish on her comp wins or something. But you never know who's throwing competitions. You know, that's why you can't ever take your comp wins too seriously. That's why you can't ever take yourself too seriously in anything. Because you never know how much of it is your actual skill and how much of it is luck. I think it's 50-50 every time with everything in life. That's why you don't want to ever believe your own hype. You don't ever want to be too far up your own ass. But she's like, I don't know, guys. I don't know. Did she throw it? Yeah. And so did Vince, which made your odds even better. You know, then you were only against Will and Ava, right?
So they're gonna, we will never know how long they actually stood over the button. You know what I'm saying? We really won't. So, oh yeah, when me and Keanu shared a beer, how he said that our name. So this was one thing about that. So I was really leaning into the fact that I was pissed at Vince, right? Because I wanted to see what I could get out of Keanu. And I was like, oh, let me grab a beer. Like I can share it with him. Like we'll chat it up. And that's when he proposed the three-peat alliance, the three-peaters, which I thought was really funny. And I liked it because I'm like, oh, Keanu, like he's kind of showing some respect for my game. But I also was like, well, technically, you know, you have two with Casey, you know, but I'm not going to say anything. But I was like, well, technically you have two vetoes, my guy. But I'm not one to like poke fun that heavy. But yeah, no, to find out so I didn't want to win HOH then because I would have to put up Keanu on the block. So I was really happy that it was Lauren. I was not happy being on the block, but I ended up getting off the block. So, when you caught Vince and Lauren doing the heel clicks in the kitchen, you said, what the fuck am I watching on this TV? But what were you really thinking? I really was thinking that. I'm like, what the fuck am I watching? Like, what are they doing? Like, I was really trying to understand what the hell was going on because I could hear it from like the room and it was shaking the room. And I'm like, what are they doing?
Girl, you were mad. We saw it on the live feeds. They were goofing around. You were like, what the fuck is he doing? You wanted him to make a decision. Who's your number one? Is she your number one? He was lying to you. And you were mad. You weren't like, oh my God, what that silly goose is doing? You were like, what the fuck are they doing? Like, you were very upset. You were big mad. Please, ma'am, please.
No.
I was like, I was gonna tell you, what are they doing? You were like, what are they doing? Like, you were serious.
Oh, not the walking Lauren to the block. That line was pretty, yeah. That's rich. Piss. Yeah, I know. So funny. I did not know. I mean, how can I see him peeking through the HOH room when I'm down there with Keanu? I had no clue. Yes. So that's the thing. Keanu jumping into Vince's bed at 4 a.m. was diabolical. I was like, what the hell? Yeah, no, Tyler is not incorrect. Like, me and Vince did not press our button right away. I literally stood next to it and tried to talk to Tyler, and he was looking at me, and I was like, can I not talk to Tyler? I was like, hello? Like, I'm so confused. and then I pressed my button. So I probably stalled for about like, I don't know, 10 seconds before I pressed the button. Lauren still would have won that though. I mean, Lauren killed it.
So that's about, that's about all I can, there's more to it, but she also talks about how, she wanted to work with Lauren and maybe her, Lauren and Vinny could have worked together. And people were like, well, then why did you tell Lauren that she would be a pawn for you? And then Morgan tried to frame it as like, oh, I was just being honest to build rapport. No, here's also, in addition to the abs, okay, get rid of abs and get rid of showmances. Never, ever, ever tell someone you want to work with or an ally of yours that you want them to be your pawn. Because if you tell me you are willing to risk my life in the game, we are not working together. You do not care about me. I am disposable. And now I don't look at you as an ally. And you told Lauren that, and you weren't even HOH or in a position of power. Like, it was insane to tell her that. You're like, I want to be honest with her. Don't. Please don't. Don't. I mean, ma'am, what? Okay. Please don't. Please don't. But yes, Morgan seems to be happy where she's at, and I hope the best for her. And if she wants to do a deep dive with Taran, I would love to roast and react to it. I'd love to roast and react to many deep dives. Hopefully they do more. But I don't know if she's ready for that. And it's her business. All right, you guys. All right, we're at 4 hours. 4 hours. Don't forget to smash that like, you guys, if you haven't already. Please comment after the video post. I didn't get to all of your comments today, but I like to hear from all of you. So don't forget to leave a comment after I end this live. Shout out to all my super chatters today. Jody, Lindsay, Artist, Kelly Cal, DGF, Bradley, Monica M, Lau Lily, Lady Jane, David Cushmore, and Mac. And yes, Amy says, speaking of RHAP, I haven't seen Stacked. I know, Stacked in Florida. Hopefully Stacked is doing well. Maybe she's just tired. It's a long season, stepping away, getting some rest, getting some vacay. But we're thinking of you, girl. Hopefully you're doing well. And thank you guys for being here. And I'll be back tomorrow. We always got something to talk about. Thank you on the side with TLC for being a member for 49 months. I'm not worthy. Seriously. Thank you for being you. I appreciate you guys. And if you're on the replay crew, don't forget to put your disco ball emoji in the comment section so I know you made it this far in this long ass live. Share me with your friends. Subscribe. We're on our way to 50K. And if you're not already, follow me on social media at joleenlunzer on Instagram and ticky-tacky. Until next time, you guys, enjoy yourself because it's later than you think. Bye.